Welcome back to the Otaku Host Club, your bi-weekly fix on everything anime. This is Geoff, and this week we each gathered a list of our top 5 anime series to binge during the Corona lockdown. We will be breaking down each of our lists in a round table style. Each list is an eclectic offering that fits just about any taste and genre. Believe me, there's something here for everyone. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this 3-hour special.
Nobody got sick and passed away yet?
Nah, still kicking. But I know someone who has a relative who's sick.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Scary.
Yeah, and they were hanging out with them. It was a mother-in-law, a friend of mine. And
oh, no.
Yeah, they were hanging out with him for a couple of days, and then they got diagnosed, and now they're quarantined for another 14 days.
That's scary.
Yeah. They don't have any symptoms yet, so that's good.
Oh, that's good.
So
I just don't want to get it.
At all.
At all whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't want to get it either, but I also feel like even if I did get it, it's like, it's very of the moment, you know? Like, to look back and say like, oh yeah, I had it too. I survived. You know?
Survived coronavirus.
Assuming you survive and this doesn't become like literally the worst thing in the world and like what debilitated with like, you know, you lose a lung or something.
Yeah.
Right. Well, none of us smoke cigarettes, right?
Nope.
Used to, though.
Yeah, I wonder if smoking weed really would impact your health. For the smoke.
Yeah.
Probably, right?
It's bad for your lungs too, you know.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I'm so out of breath.
Oh no, he has a symptom. He's out of breath.
Well, I thought it was like, I'm being serious. I thought it was like a joint is like 8 times worse for your lungs than a cigarette, but it balances because you typically smoke, you know, like significantly more cigarettes than one would smoke a joint.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're not doing like smoking a pack of cigarettes necessarily. Chain smoking.
Yeah.
Oh man. Ugh. No chain smoking. Ugh. I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
well,
you know, in a post-cells at work age, think about all your beautiful little cells running around your body that are, you know, you're causing difficulty to them just so you can smoke, you know.
They're having to work overtime.
Yeah, have some consideration for your little red blood cells. Do you guys see Cells at Work Black is coming out?
Hopefully it's coming out. Everything is delayed.
Well, yeah, it's delayed, but it's confirmed that there's getting an anime adaptation. There's a trailer for it.
That's
awesome.
Awesome.
Cool. I'm really excited about that.
Live action?
I don't think that's a story you could tell in live action.
You could, but it'd have to be all CG.
So it's just the second season?
Yes. Okay. But the difference, as I understand it, is that first Cells at Work deals with a relatively normal, healthy human body. Mm-hmm. And Cells at Work Black is someone that has very unhealthy lifestyle practices and is kind of sick all the time. You know, they contract an STD at some point. And as a result, the show is tilted much more towards being risque, like the character's a little bit more juiced up sexually and the violence is a little bit more over the top. So it's a bit more amped up.
Wow. They could do a spinoff of like every kind of person. They could have so many Cells at Work anime.
Yeah. Well, I think there are. I think there's like 7 or 8 different manga spinoffs.
Gotcha.
But I'm all for it. I would like to see Cells at Work become like a monstrously a monstrously huge franchise.
Yeah, for sure.
There's really so much you could do with it. It's endless.
Yeah.
Could be
They
endless.
could have a coronavirus edition.
That'd be fucking great.
Ooh.
Yeah.
A movie based on that.
Yeah, like one movie. Well, one movie's good. Not a whole series, though, because I'm already over it.
And it ends with the body drinking bleach because Donald Trump told him to.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
The rebuild of Evangelion movie that I was so looking forward to has also been officially postponed, and they do not have a new release date.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that I'm just going to miss that altogether no matter what. But there's also a new Evangelion Tamagotchi crossover that's still supposed to be dropping this summer. That is now the number one thing I want most in my life is a Evangelion Tamagotchi.
What? That sounds cute.
Yeah, I have no idea
I've heard
what is the best way of, acquiring one. I might just have to ask Anton or Kiyasu or somebody to go buy me one. But
what? That sounds so cute.
yeah, they got a bunch of them for different age. They have one for Unit 1. They have a couple of them for different angels. I think they have one for Rei and Ami too.
Oh, cool.
and
No
So
Oscar yet?
They probably have one for Asuka, but I don't remember seeing that named off.
they're going to be both American and Japanese release.
You're looking at it.
No, I'm asking. Do you know? Are you sure?
I don't know.
Hoping. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be nice if it was if there was an American release too, but I feel like chances of that are a little bit more slim. Just because that's always how it is.
Well, get me one too. Give me one of each.
You're right. They're probably like $50.
Worth it. I loved my Tamagotchi when I was a little kid. I was all about that shit.
Oh shit! I begged for a Tamagotchi and I got a freaking Neopet. So stupid. I don't want. Who wants a Neopet when you got a Tamagotchi?
Mm-hmm.
What was the big difference between the two? I don't think I had one.
What?
I had a Tamagotchi, but
Tamagotchi was the legit game, and Neopets was the knockoff.
it was a knockoff version. Okay.
Yeah, you get it at like Sears or Caldor, if you remember.
Ames.
Yeah. Oh, I begged for a real Tamagotchi, and all I got was a Neopet.
Deprived childhood.
Yeah, they cheated you.
Yeah, I was spoiled until my sister came along.
That's always how that's a universal family dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why I am extremely grateful to be an only child.
No competition.
Mm-hmm.
What else is in the news? Besides delays.
Yeah, lots of things are being postponed now. I'm actually kind of like, I thought I was going to get excited for ReZero, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to get delayed yet again.
It's on my list, but I still have not seen it. Yeah, it seems like this entire next season is going to be delayed altogether.
Yeah. I don't even have like a comprehensive need to watch list too. Like I should have that on the back burner for times like this.
Well, one thing that was not delayed is the new Ghost in the Shell, right? That's up on Netflix now.
Sure. Yep.
How is
Watched one episode.
How was that first episode, Jeffrey?
Mixed feelings. So it started off well in the sense of it being a Gets show, and the animation was the starting point. You start the show, and you're brought into the action. And I love the sets in the show, like right off the bat. But then, just like the trailer, the character designs just awful. I can't get on board with the mouth flaps, the animation of the mouths. It's almost as if they don't sync up. If that makes sense. It's like, like they're opening their mouths, but nothing's coming out, and it's just I just don't get it. I don't get it. And so when you're trying to read the subtitles, and all you can do is focus on that shit. So maybe what we need to do is need to watch the dub. Yeah.
I mean, that makes me wonder if this was a reverse dub, or insofar as like maybe this was originally done in English and animated with English, kind of mouthing, and then when they swapped it over to Japanese, it didn't apply correctly.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
That's interesting to do something in English first and then dub it in Japanese.
Yeah, it would be a little bit unorthodox. So I don't want to say that's what they did. That could lead to a situation as you described, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, the plot was fun. I was kind of getting into it. I might go back and rewatch it, but they try to bring it into what we think of as real world now. And there's some political intrigue. It's funny because it looks like it's set in the Middle East, and then it goes to Tokyo, back and forth. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if the team's split up, because Bato is there, and then it kind of feels like Iraq, basically. Did you get a chance to watch any of it?
No.
Okay.
I will not watch this unless we make a decision that we should watch it to talk about it on here, in which case I'm willing to watch it.
I was thinking about that too. Yeah. Because I really want to know what you think about it, Dan.
Well, let's do it. How many episodes is it?
I think 12.
They say 6.
6.
No, I was hoping for 6. 6 is a good digestible.
Well, they're 20 minutes. They're like 25 minutes, I think, roughly.
There's only 6 episodes?
No, that was just me hoping.
Oh. How many episodes is it?
10, 12? What is it, Jeff?
I think it's 10 or 12, yeah.
Netflix does this weird thing where they only put 10 episodes out of an anime sometimes.
Well, definitely feels like Netflix.
Uh-oh.
It's already got a 3.3 rating.
Remember when Netflix first came out? The reviews on Netflix were brutal.
Yeah.
Nobody gave anything 5 stars. You were lucky to get 3 stars on Netflix.
I missed that rating system.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I liked it. No, it's a thumbs up and a thumbs down. It's like, okay.
Well, that's stupid. There should be thumbs in the middle as well.
Or a little,
Terrible.
Have Larry David with his hand out. I don't know.
Oh my God. We've been watching so much Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Okay, so this Ghost in the Shell show has 24 episodes.
No.
But it's split up.
Okay, and so it's planned for 24 episodes, and only the first season is currently out. So it's got 12 episodes currently up.
It's a little more digestible. At 12 is going to be hard to get through.
12 is, what we ought to be doing in a week for this. So I say we should all watch it and then come and grouse about it.
Hell yeah. And we can slam it as much as we want.
Yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready and raring. Let me loose. I'm all chained up right now. I don't want to watch it, but once that shit hits my eyeballs, just let me loose, and I'll fucking go off about it. How could they do this to my boy, as they say?
Well.
So, Dan, I have finally started Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh yeah, hell yeah!
Yes, I get it.
How far are you?
7 episodes in to the first one. The original one. Yep. I decided. I thought it was probably best if I did original and then Brotherhood. Right.
Hell yeah! You're in for a good ride.
Yeah, it's pretty great so far. I mean, I get why it's so popular. It's one of, people say it's the best anime.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I'm excited. It's good. I like it.
I would start watching it with you, but I'm right in the middle of a couple of long shows myself.
What are you watching?
In my efforts to get ready for the top anime to watch in a lockdown. So at the moment, I am a little over halfway through Mobile Suit Gundam Zeta, which has not really... I understand why people think that this is better than the original, or at least that's the impression that I get, because I do think that the character writing is stronger in this compared to the original Mobile Suit Gundam, and the animation is certainly a lot better. The action sequences are significantly more interesting and better choreographed, but I still find the politics and the overall plot to just be really confusing. I have very little idea of I understand the character relationships and kind of the emotional dynamics, but I don't understand the kind of the plot of the politics or what exactly it is I'm seeing as these people go through actions. I'm having difficulty piecing together why people are doing what they're doing and what it all means in the grander scheme of the universe they live in. So I find it kind of unfulfilling for that reason. I am also a little over 1/3 of the way through Space Brothers, which is a show about a very critically acclaimed kind of show, but I never got the sense it was all that popular. It's the story of 2 brothers that see a UFO when they're little kids and make it becomes their lifelong goal to become astronauts so they can try to find the UFO again. And the older brother, who feels a very strong sense that, as an older brother, he should be paving the way for his little brother, and he should always be a step ahead of his little brother and taking care of his little brother. This older brother gives up on his dream of being an astronaut and becomes very successful as a car designer and a engineer for cars. But the little brother actually becomes an astronaut and becomes a full-fledged going to the moon, all over the headlines and stuff type astronaut. And that places the older brother in a little bit of a complex where he feels like he's kind of lost his path in his life and is becoming a disappointment because he was unable to follow through on his dreams. And he kind of resolves himself to become an astronaut. And is really, 99 episodes of feel good, the journey of the older brother becoming an astronaut and the younger brother living his best astronaut life. And this show gets compared a lot to Planetes, which is a top 10 show for me, because both of these shows have a very realistic portrayal of space and a very character-driven portrayal of space. And this is not to say that I dislike Space Brothers, but I strongly prefer Planetes. I think Planetes just is a more engrossing show and is so much more emotionally dynamic and thematically compelling, whereas thus far in Space Brothers, it's just been kind of a slow burn, feeling good. Every single episode is like, we're feeling good. We take a couple steps forward in the plot. We're feeling good. Everybody's happy. We're feeling good. I have yet to see any kind of more heavy I've yet to see the kinds of heavy themes and the kinds of dramatic emotions that I want to see in general, and that Planetes really hands to me in spades. But yeah, overall, I think Space Brothers lives up to the hype, and it really does deserve all its critical acclaim. It's a beautiful kind of show, but it doesn't pack enough punch to, that I would want to rewatch this again at a later date. And then I'm also through the first story arc of 12 Kingdoms, which Geoff was talking about last episode. And that did not sit very well with me at first because I thought the world building was too confusing, and I didn't really care for the characters, or I thought most of them were very annoying, and I just couldn't really grasp what exactly is going on here. But as the episodes go on, it's grown on me a fair amount. Actually, I find it pretty enjoyable. I still kind of object to certain ways that they tell the story. Like, for example, they kind of push through the main character reclaiming her throne in the course of about 10 to 15 minutes of episode screen time in a way that makes me feel like, man, this was like several months of ongoing military campaign and political engineering in order to get to this end point. And that could have been, a solid 10 episodes of like good gripping action and politicking in and of itself, rather than just blowing right through it in 10 minutes. So I guess none of that was actually all that important because I didn't give it any screen time. So like, what's the fucking point?
That's where I left off. I left off right where she takes back the kingdom. I thought the same thing. I'm like, did we just jump cut? What just happened? And I went back. I went back to make sure I didn't skip an episode.
Yeah, it made it feel very unfulfilling to me. Right. But it's whatever. I mean, I'll keep watching it till the end, so we'll see what happens next. But yeah, that's all right. Both of these shows were on my radar as things that might be worth discussing under quarantine, but neither of them made my list.
Cool.
And what about you guys?
Catching up with new season stuff, Kaguya-sama, Listeners, just chugging along. Full Metal Alchemist. What else?
Yeah, so where are you at in the plot of Full Metal Alchemist?
He just got his state alchemist. He passed the exam. Has he met
the chubby researcher with glasses?
Yes, yeah, and his daughter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's staying at because they go to his house to study for the test, and he's supposed to like help them study, and then he passes. So the journey has just begun.
Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to ascertain. One of the most famous scenes of Full Metal Alchemist, I think, is right around the corner for you.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't want to spoil it though, so
don't spoil.
I don't want to ask any pointed questions to figure out if you've actually seen this or not. But I'm assuming, based on your words, that you haven't actually seen this. So
no,
there's a shocker right around the corner for you.
He runs into. I feel like the guy that he fought the last time of that like clan.
Scar.
I feel like he runs into him as he's like going to do something. That is the point at which I have stopped. It's like right in the middle of an episode, but still.
Right.
So what are you liking so far about it?
I mean, the characters are pretty, like the two main characters are really cool. I can like get into the background stories of those guys. So it's easy for me to just, watch. I don't know. They're good. I like them. But I'm looking forward to them getting into more of the magical elements of everything, and like what they have to overcome now, because they've already overcome quite a lot in the time that they've been like alive. So I'm interested to see like what they have to do to get their bodies back.
Yeah, when I think of Full Metal Alchemist, the early episodes are very high energy and serve as a very good kind of introduction to the lay of the land and the mechanics of, how alchemy works here, and kind of a basic introduction of all the major characters and the major parties. But it takes a little bit before the heavier themes and the main thrust of the plot come into play. It takes its time setting everything up so that once it gets into the story and kicks into gear, it can really just run at a good pace.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I was thinking that it was like kind of slow pace. It's kind of like episodic a little bit. You just like learn a specific thing about them or about like their journey in the beginning for those few episodes, and I'm waiting for the real action.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's coming.
I'm looking for some magic to happen.
Well, what about you, Geoff? What are you watching these days?
Not a whole lot. I was watching the Pat Labor TV series. I never actually finished that. So I have that on Blu-ray and DVD. Got it for super cheap from Right Stuff. But I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy VII. That's been my main jam. Yeah. And what else? I haven't watched anything new updated wise, like trying to think something that stands out. Yeah. The 12 Kingdoms. That's about it.
Are you going to keep watching 12 Kingdoms? I'm
going to try. I'm just playing. Yeah, I think I'm going to jump back on that and just try to like do 2 episodes a night, because I want to see where it takes, like where the story goes from here. If it doesn't get better in like 10 episodes, at least gripping wise, like I'll probably just toss it aside,
Word.
Just toss
it.
Just throw it in the bin.
Like a dirty pair of underwear.
Garbage.
Garbage. Yeah, Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I've been playing so much Persona.
Right?
Yeah, so much Persona.
Video game, it's like a challenge, right? It's like, do I play more video games or do I watch more anime?
I've actually been playing more video games because I feel like normally I'm like, damn, I just want to sit and watch some anime because I'm like usually like so busy and like I just want to like chill. But now I'm like, man, I need something to do with my brain. I need to play some video games. I need to conquer something.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way.
I need a quest.
Mm-hmm.
This is when the isekai gods would come down and, thrust me into a different world, and then I would be okay. But this is real life, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, I finished the My Hero Academia season, or at least
That's what I should be doing.
Yeah. Well, at least a part of the festival.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Maybe that's what I should watch this week.
That is bingeable.
So what did you think of that?
Very bingeable. Actually, I enjoyed it. I like those parts in anime of the festival happens. Even Beastars had one. It wasn't the same, but
he's a festival guy.
Yeah, it was a good school festival. The whole side character, the villain. What was the anti-villain?
Gentle.
Mr. Gentle. I like Gentle. I was rooting for him, honestly.
Yeah, and I know I touched on that when I watched all this stuff, but I do think Gentle was a very well constructed villain for that period of the show. where it's hard to one up Overhaul in terms of pure like danger and threateningness, like how do you raise the stakes from Overhaul's, quirk ability and overall power level. But Gentle just sidesteps that entire question by just being a very like well-written and endearing kind of character and making their conflict not really about strength. Man, I don't think there's ever any real question that Midoriya is going to win, but it's just a question of kind of the emotional context and how it feels. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
Have you seen the last 2 episodes dealing with Endeavor?
No, I didn't bother to watch them. I was like, that's enough. The festival was enough. I'll wait like 6 months and then I'll watch whatever's out,
I legit thought those last 2 episodes were the best episodes of the whole season. I was amazed by how good, like, the season finale I thought was just perfect. I was spellbound the entire episode. I was shedding manly tears. I was all up on it. I loved it. I get that people don't want to see Endeavor succeed, but his redemption story is flimsy. But yeah, in the context of this anime, I don't really care. I thought it was awesome. Now let's talk about our list, because I imagine that'll generate enough discussion on its own to keep us going through.
Like, what are your guys' lists like? Are they like, what do you guys like have in mind when you are writing your lists?
So, I'll let you guys answer that question first, because I had a list of thoughts and requirements and like things I was looking for as I was selecting.
Well, I was structure wise, I kind of wanted to go off the top of my head, and then I was going through things that I watched in periods of my life or recently where I was able to just continuously watch and was hooked enough episode by episode where I was like, man, I got to finish this show. It's so good. That was my base requirement. And I tried to, I didn't want to go back too far because I wanted things to be fresh in my memory. So I chose shows within the last couple of years. There's one show that's 4 years old, and I almost chose one that was like 10 years old, but too long. It was too long. So that was another, I was thinking about that too, is episode length plus the amount of seasons.
Yeah. Were you going for like longer longer running
shorter
shows? Yeah. Shorter. Okay.
Yeah. Either like 12 episodes, 24 episodes.
Yeah. Same. My list wasn't
interesting.
Mine were like ones that weren't obviously like the most popular anime within the last couple of years. Cause like most people are probably have seen that, or if not, they're like, that's already on their radar. So like, there's no point in putting that on a list, but mine were more like what I also really enjoyed and could get through. But also like some of them, I wanted it to be like not too many episodes, or one that has a little bit more episodes, or like ones that, like I wanted like a variety. Like I didn't want just like one specific type of anime.
Yeah.
So mine's like kind of varied.
Yep.
And then I also have like if you like the ones on my list, I have for each one, I have like one that is also kind of like that.
Word.
Like, if you like this one's also similar.
Okay.
So I was, I guess, the opposite of both you guys.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
So I wrote down, before I started thinking of shows, I wrote down just a list of like what kind of show would be best under quarantine, like what would you want to be watching? And my thoughts on this was actually the opposite, that has got to be long. It can't be a short. I didn't even consider anything less than 50 episodes.
Whoa, cool.
Because anything less than 50 episodes, you can watch it whenever. You
That's
know,
true.
like if it's 6 episodes, you could watch it at any point in your life. But how many times are you going to be stuck at home, you know, by force? And, you know, this is your big opportunity to get through some 70 or 80 episode slog that you may otherwise not have enough time in your life to really commit to. But along those lines, I also wanted to get something that has momentum, that starts strong and it keeps you going. It like stays entertaining the whole way through. And also in kind of a similar way, something that is immediate, something that does not rely on atmosphere or vibe, not something that's a slice of life kind of show that just kind of gives you a nice feeling per se. It's got to be something that is action packed, that is immediate enough that it hooks you and keeps you going the whole way through.
Oh, another one of my requirements was that it had to be streaming.
Well, yeah,
That's a good point.
Because you can't just like get the DVD if you don't, you know, like you could start free trials if you wanted to watch something, but it's going to take forever to get that DVD shipped to you. So it had to be streaming currently.
Accessibility was on my mind, and similar to that, I also thought about popularity and audience accessibility. But I thought about this differently than you, Amelia, insofar as rather than looking for things that are less obvious for being less popular, I was looking at things for being more popular that you could therefore talk about with other people that have presumably seen the show as well, or something that you could feasibly grab your roommate or your partner or whoever you're stuck in quarantine with and actually watch this with them and have them, you know, feel like this is engaging and interesting too. And I was also, looking for franchises that were not too confusing. That's why I didn't use Full Metal Alchemist, because then you get stuck with the original or Brotherhood. And I wanted something you could just pick up and run with it without being sidetracked by spin-offs or confusing second versions and whatnot.
So Monogatari series isn't on your list.
No. And I wanted something with good conclusive endings. I didn't want shows that take you on a wild ride just to leave you high and dry at the end.
Gotcha.
I was looking for something that has a specific ending that is satisfying, so that in the event we get out of quarantine before you're finished with this, you're not stuck watching this thing forever, waiting for it to end, but you actually have an ending in sight, so you can go ahead and finish it up and then get back to your normal daily life.
So also not One Piece.
I was going to say.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is why One Piece was a runner-up. And on the one hand, this is the ideal time to get into this franchise. But on the other hand, it is not the best choice, in my opinion, because it is still ongoing. So my other runner-ups, I guess I'll just talk about my other runner-ups and why they didn't fit into these things. Ghost in the Shell, the original 2 television shows, which I felt like did not have a cohesive enough like meta narrative over the 2 seasons to make it the best choice. Hunter x Hunter also came to mind immediately, but Same. I decided that was too confusing of a franchise because it's got the original and the 2011 version.
Yeah.
And that it's also maybe too quote unquote anime to watch with like your roommate or your partner that may or may not be into anime anyway. You know what I mean? Code Geass ranked high for me, but I chose another show that I felt was more currently of the moment, and that Code Geass is maybe too old to be pertinent to current discussions, although it does fit most of these ideals. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, also very, very close to making this list for me, but I decided it was too episodic, and didn't have a strong enough overarching narrative to really keep you going the whole way through. And Kaiji was number 6.
Oh, yeah, Kaiji.
It hurts not to include Kaiji. Yeah. But yeah, Kaiji's number 6. Sorry, Kaiji.
I would have chose Kaiji too. Good runner-up. I like those.
So how are we going to do this? Are we just all going to say one? We're just going to round table, say one thing on the list?
Yeah, round table through all our number 5s, then all our number 4s.
Oh, shit. Y'all numbered yours? Mine are just generally. I don't have a top or bottom.
Same.
I generally don't number things, but as I was making this list, I did, in fact, number them.
Maybe I'll number them right now.
Yeah, let me think about this for a second. Why don't one of you guys go first then?
Okay, well, I'll start. My number 5 was the TV show Monster.
Oh, that's streaming right now?
I don't know if that's streaming right now.
Oh, okay, because that's one I've been wanting to watch.
Yeah, so Monster is the long-winded story of a brilliant Japanese doctor living in Germany. And he is at the height of his career. He is set to marry, when we start the show, he is engaged to the hospital director's daughter. He is the hottest, up-and-coming, brilliant star of a surgeon on the scene. Everyone anticipates that he will become the hospital director when the current director retires. He's got the world ahead of him, but something doesn't quite sit right for him. And he feels that the current hospital system is a little corrupt. It's a little slanted towards the rich and against the poor. And he decides to make a stand in the first episode. He is faced with a situation where 2 kind of unknown orphans arrive at the hospital requiring surgery. They've clearly undergone this traumatic situation. They need immediate medical attention. And then a couple minutes later, the mayor of the city comes in having had a heart attack, and he also needs immediate surgery. And the doctor says, the hospital director comes and says, all right, you got to work on the mayor. We need our best guy on the mayor. Fuck these 2 little kids. Nobody cares about them. So we're going to give the 2 little kids the second, the B grade surgeon. And the doctor says, no, this is my line in the sand. That's not right. The kids came in here first, and I'm going to treat the kids because their lives are equally important as the mayor. And, they deserve to be treated with equal respect as our patients. So I'm going to treat them, and the B grade surgeon can treat the mayor because he came in afterwards. So Dr. Tenma saves the 2 little kids, and the B grade surgeon kills the mayor. So everybody's fucking pissed at Dr. Tenma. He loses all of his kind of social standing and social grace. His fiance dumps him. Everyone says, why the fuck didn't you just save the mayor? Like, you've done a great shame to this hospital. Your career is basically over now. Fuck you. And that sends the doctor through this personal, downward spiral in his life. And as these 2 kids that he saves grow up, it turns out that one of them becomes kind of a serial killer, but kind of not. And the doctor goes on a 70-plus episode journey to uncover the mysterious past of these 2 orphans and grapples with his own sense of, I'm a doctor, I took a Hippocratic oath, I must do good, but also this child is evil and must be stopped, and I need to be the one to kill him because I saved his life. But does that also make me equally as bad for being, also being a killer if I kill this guy? And yeah, it is a very long road trip journey throughout Europe with many different interweaving plot threads, lots and lots of characters, a lot of deep themes going on, and yeah, lots of twists and turns. It is a show that I did not enjoy as much when I marathoned through it, as much as I did when I just watched a couple episodes here and there over time. But that being said, I think this is the kind of show that, you know, you could sit down with your roommate or with your partner or anybody, and everybody would enjoy this show because it is, you know, kind of brilliantly executed. It is extremely smart and it is extremely interesting the whole way through. Yeah, and that's what I wrote down on my notes. You know, why it is number 5 on my list. Starts super strong. I've heard multiple people say the first 4 episodes are the strongest start in anime history. It has a perfect ending. When you actually get to the end, it is amazing what happens. It is very fulfilling and very conclusive in all the right ways. There's a ton to sink your teeth into, both in plot and in theme. There's a lot that you can, you know, get out of the show through its immediate plot twists and the suspense and the thrill, but also this is a show that you could watch and then sit down over dinner and talk about it and talk about the characters and the themes and how it's all playing out. So that was my number 5 choice. Monster.
Choice. I'm happy you chose that one because I really considered adding that, and I couldn't remember most of it, or at least, you know, major plot points. But yeah, that's a good show. And I think that needs
It was supposed to get a live action adaptation on HBO.
Was it really?
Yep.
I could totally see it being a live action show.
Yes, I agree.
It would work really well. And the fact that it's set in Europe, I think it wouldn't, you know, isolate its audience per se.
Yeah.
But cool. I guess I'll go next, Amelia.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's hard to choose a 5, so I'm just gonna randomly choose the weakest link. I guess I'll start with Gundam: The Origin. That's my marathon choice. If you're familiar with Gundam, the original series, you probably don't need an introduction to this show. It's basically just a prequel to the original Gundam series. And it takes place UC 68, and you get to find out where Char and
Mr. Manda.
Yeah, Mr.
Char.
Manda. Yeah, you have to figure out where he comes from, what his story is, why is he masked? You know, why does he have this name? And if you don't know the original Gundam series, it's still a good place to start. I think this is like by far one of the best Gundam stories out there. And what's great about it too is that you can either watch it as the OVA series. It's only six parts, and it was released about an hour each OVA, or you can watch it as a TV series, 13 episodes, and so it's about double the length. But I think the OVA is better. I'll say that because it feels like a theatrical movie. You can watch them. You could literally watch 6 hours of this show and not get bored, in my opinion. So if you like action, you like political intrigue, like Machiavellian style show, this is the show for you. And just another note, like the show, I think it was, you know, there was like a 35th anniversary celebration for Gundam. So they started releasing all these different adaptations and Gunpla and what have you. But when we were talking before, Dan, about what show to start with, this could have been an easy contender to start here, even though it wasn't released, you know, before the Gundam series. I think,
but it's chronologically first in universe.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to watch it at some point this year, without a doubt.
Okay.
Great job, because it's on his list, so you have to watch it.
Better fucking watch it,
yes. Yes, I will. I screwed up by starting with the original Mobile Suit Gundam, so basically I have to make my way through Universal Century and then go back and watch Origins as a prequel at the very end of my journey through Universal Century. So
I watched it. I had a tick bite before I watched the show, which is why it sort of, maybe I'm a little sentimental, but I was bit by this tick and my leg got infected, and my entire leg was like swollen basically, and I had this huge bite that was like this size, maybe like 2 inches wide, and it swelled up and it's all pussy and yada yada yada, and I had a temperature. I felt like I had the flu basically during this. So I'm like, do I have Lyme's disease or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't have it that I know of, but I was stuck on the couch for 2 days with temperature and all this shit. I watched. I finished watching Gundam: The Origin as a TV series, not the OVA. Watch it.
Does the OVA cut anything out from the TV version?
It's basically all the same. They have different opening and endings for each episode, which is nice. They reinterpreted a lot of the original songs that are in the Gundam series, and they just made them more modern. Animation's great. Everything about the show is great.
My number 5 is Recovery of an MMO Junkie. Have you guys seen that or heard
interesting.
About that?
I have not seen this. Isn't this the guy that was in hot water on Twitter for being a Nazi or something?
Oh, is it? Was he? I'm not on Twitter.
So I just wanted to jump in here real quick and verify some of that information that Kazuyoshi Yaganuma was retweeting and tweeting and liking anti-Semitic content on Twitter. This was back in 2018, February. And apparently, Anime News Network tried to contact him to verify these statements and his sentiment to whether or not the Holocaust even happened. And there hasn't been a update since then that I'm aware of. But just to put that out there, that yes, this is true.
He was like posting this, like the guy that writes this show was like posting all this weird Japanese nationalist stuff, and everybody was getting all up in arms about it.
Really?
Which is not to say that in my opinion, people should or should not watch this show.
I didn't know about that.
That is the reason why the show is on my radar at all.
Oh, really? I mean, the show's cute.
Sorry, I didn't mean to burst our bubble here.
It's okay. No, I still think the show's cute, but okay. Well, anyway, you can find it on Crunchyroll. It's 12 episodes, so it's like super short, and it's like a slice of life show. Where like the main protagonist Morioka like finds herself falling back on her neat like tendencies and lifestyle after she quits her job on purpose to become a neat. And in her old game she used to play was discontinued, so now she dives into this new game called Fruit de Mer from an online recommendation. And she creates this like super hot male character to play as named Hayashi. And she has a rough start in the game. So this other player, Lily, comes over and, kind of shows her the ropes or shows Hayashi the ropes and allows him to like level up and stuff. And then she takes him back to her guild and introduces him to all of the guild members. And they just become like a ragtag team of like MMO characters. And as they get to know each other, they start to develop feelings for the characters, like both in game and in real life, and not knowing how closely connected they both are. They have scenes of them like running into each other at the convenience store because they live in the same neighborhood. And a couple of their friends in real life are friends with each other. They just like are like on the outskirts of that like friendship. And it just basically has shots of them in game and like progressing through their relationship in game, and then also progressing through their like in real life relationship. So they're like super cute, super quirky, and I liked it because it's like a romance, but it's like also comedy, and it's with like 30-something-year-olds that shouldn't like be playing these games, but I relate to it so much because like that's literally all I do. So I think it was just like super fun. One you could get through like really quick. I watched it while it was airing, but if it wasn't airing, I would have binged the shit out of it because it's just like super cute. And you really want to know like how they actually meet in real life and like what happens to their relationship once they realize that they're both playing as like opposite gender characters, but then became attracted to each other through that. So it's like really cute.
Yeah, this show's on my bucket list. I think past shows to watch.
It's a good one. I really liked it. And it leaves off in a way that there could be a second season, or there could also not be a second season. So.
All right. Number 4.
Yeah.
Okay. My number 4 is Nana.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It is a good one. So Nana is the story of 2 young women living in Tokyo. We have one Nana who is the lightheaded and, or I guess the right. Sorry, we have one Nana who is the airheaded one, who is kind of this happy-go-lucky, preppy girl who just wants to find somebody to love and wants to, she's kind of always falling in love with all these men in her life, kind of at the drop of a dime, and then falls out of love with them in these dramatic ways. So she leads this kind of, happy-go-lucky, airheaded, dramatic life. And her roommate, who is also named Nana, is significantly more cynical. And, she's a punk. She plays in a punk band. She is this kind of dark and slightly depressed and cynical kind of foil to the other Nana. And this punker Nana is trying to make her way with her band and also has her own love life that she's navigating. And Nana is, this long story of these 2 girls and their respective and very closely intertwined love stories and how they navigate their personal relationships and their professional lives, as a musician and as a retail worker, basically. And I love this show. I've watched it multiple times. It is so, it hits a lot of different marks for me for being both a great love story, and it's cool. Like I like the band dynamics because I'm also a band guy. So I'm very invested in watching Blast rise through the charts and their interactions with their kind of rival sibling band Trap Nest. My notes on Nana were that, Nana is very high energy and drama packed. There is not a wasted moment in this show. It is kind of always careening forward at a good pace, and there's always something interesting happening amidst all, there's a plethora of different characters and many different, very nuanced relationships between them. And there's always something dramatic happening to somebody at any given moment in this show. It makes it very engrossing to get into. It's also borderline trashy, but not totally, or I guess I should say it is borderline trashy, but it's also totally not trashy whatsoever. So it fits for a variety of viewing contexts in that way. I feel like you could watch this in the way that I watch trashy television, which is to watch it with all my friends, and we're all hooting and hollering at the TV and throwing popcorn at it and yelling about all these people doing all these trashy things. It kind of lends itself to that, but also it is totally a serious and believable and realistic portrayal of these complex human relationships. So you could watch it on your own and kind of get sucked into this world and feel very engrossed by it. I understand that it has a forced ending because the manga is still ongoing, although the manga has been on hiatus for many years now. But personally, I think the anime ends pretty acceptably. I am totally fine with where all the characters end up, and while it is kind of open-ended, it's also conclusive enough that you could set it down and walk away from there and feel like you got the whole story.
Nice. I actually haven't finished that show. I was watching it when it was being released, but never finished it. And I remember when it came out, it was around the time that Paradise Kiss was out.
Oh yeah, they're by the same.
Is it the same?
People.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in the same universe as well.
Gotcha. Do they have a cross their stories?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
They should have had somebody from Paradise Kiss listening to Blast.
Yes, they should have. That would have been amazing. I love Paradise Kiss too.
I remember.
Oh, love it. Oh.
Did you watch Nana?
Yeah.
Did you love it?
I watched Nana first, and then I watched Paradise Kiss. But I love both. I think they're both phenomenal, and they both have like similar like drama, like action-packed situations.
Yeah.
Did you like Nana better or Beck?
Well, there's more to digest with Nana. I feel like Paradise Kiss is only 12 episodes.
No,
and you're not like getting
the show Beck.
Anything else.
Did you ever watch Beck?
Yes.
Beck.
I am a huge fan of Beck Mongolian Chop Squad. I used to watch that. I used to alternate between watching Beck and watching Tenjin Toppa Gurren Lagann every time before I went on like long tours to like get me hyped. Gurren Lagann would get me hyped to perform and kind of get me in the mindset for singing in a band. But Beck would get me in the mindset for just being on tour and doing band stuff and would leave me feeling like, man, I'm so ready to, get on the road and, make punk happen and shit.
Yeah. Because Beck was more about the music where Nana was more about the relationship.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And Beck also has a, totally acceptable love story to it that I like. There's a good love story. But yeah, as you say, Beck is really the story of the band, and the love story is there because it involves the main character. Whereas Nana is really the story of these people's love lives, and it's basically a soap opera. And it's just coincidental that one of the main characters plays in the band, and that becomes a major dynamic as well.
Okay.
Wait, so who's your favorite band member?
In Nana, I like the bald drummer of Blast.
Yeah, he's a really great character.
Yeah,
he's not my favorite, but I enjoy his interactions with Nana, with the punk Nana.
Yeah, well, he's the mature father figure for everyone in the show. And that makes him very likable to me. And I am sympathetic to the way that he is always kind of repressing his feelings or like trying to work out his feelings behind closed doors in order to keep the band on track and keep from rocking the boat too much amongst, all the people in his life. I can relate to that. And I would inevitably do the same thing if I were in his situation, because I too would be more apt to put the band first above my, personal emotions.
Who's your favorite Nana?
The punk Nana. I wouldn't even hang out with the other Nana, to be honest, but I would hang out with the punk Nana.
It's unanimous.
Yeah, the punk Nana is more interesting as a person. Like me, if I were to meet these people in real life, the punk Nana, is like a very interesting and well-rounded individual with a lot going on in her life. It's like someone that has something to talk about. The other Nana is just like they portray her, like one of the ongoing gags is to portray her as like a stupid puppy,
Mm-hmm.
or like, oh, Nana, the puppy that just follows us around with big googly eyes looking at us. Not a very appealing personality for me in real life.
Speaking of band, anime shows, music shows, Caroline and Tuesday.
I haven't seen it yet, but I heard it's pretty good.
Okay.
Is that your next one?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not close. Not by a long shot.
My band anime choice is Anonymous Noise.
Okay.
I've never even heard of that.
Oh yeah, it's good. I liked it. It aired like 3 years ago, I think. I think the Japanese title is Funkamedi Noise.
Is it a J-pop band or is it like what kind of music?
Yeah, it's definitely J-pop.
Okay.
It's kind of like Bang Dream in the sense of like there's like a bunch of different bands competing with each other.
Okay.
But that's not like the basis of the show. It's just about this one girl like trying to find her voice in a world of people, but also the two guys that she has like contact with. One's like a super famous like writer, and then the other one isn't, and he's just in like a normal like band that's like going around to shows, and she like has to choose between both of them, and they both hold like significant value to her as a childhood friend, and now she's like trying to navigate this like relationship as a musician and like not walk on any toes. It's cool.
That sounds good. I'll check that out.
Yeah, it's definitely like about the music but also a lot about the relationships as well. Kind of like Nana, but definitely not as cool,
Yeah, and that's a big thing. Like the cool aspect is a key dynamic of Nana that from character design and the dialogue, everything is written and kind of artfully crafted to make these characters like they're the epitome of cool. Like the punker Nana is definitely, and her boyfriend Ren are definitely intended to be the epitome of cool when they're on the screen. Like they are supposed to be like the most awe-inspiring, model, coolest, most fashionable, most hip people you've ever met. And everything out of their mouths is like the coolest thing to say or the right thing to say, unless it's totally not, because these people are actually like very emotionally stunted and have a lot of difficulties conveying their emotions to the people around them and understanding their emotions as they go through their lives.
They're too cool. I feel like I wouldn't be friends with them just because I wouldn't be cool enough.
Fair.
I'd be on the out. I would be the dog Nana. Like, can I be your friend, please? I'm not cool enough. I actually like Trap Nest.
All right, so my number 4 is Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress. This is a 2016 release.
Studio Wit, right?
Yep.
It's on Netflix?
Yep. It is on Netflix, I believe. Yeah. And now that you said that, starting with Studio Wit, they also created Attack on Titan, for those who don't know. And it's been drawing parallels to that show specifically. And most of the staff that worked on Kabaneri worked on Attack on Titan. So they're very similar. But the difference is the length of the show. And Kabaneri is basically a direct, straight to anime show. There's no adaptation for it. There's no manga. which you don't really see a whole lot nowadays. It's sort of, most shows are based off one existing entity. But so this show is about basically zombies taking over. The world is overrun by kabane, zombie-like creatures, and they eat human flesh. But the world is broken up into fortresses, and each fortress is connected by a train system. And the trains, transport supplies, the army, the military, to each kingdom. And the kingdoms themselves are sort of self-governing. They're kind of like the shogunate in feudal Japan. And the main character, just average dude, average guy. He just happens to be a mechanic, and he's working on a new device that can kill the kabane, the zombie characters. And in doing so, he meets other characters who help him get through the story. And in the first episode, he is, not to give too much away, but he's bitten by a zombie, and he retains some of the zombies' powers. He's able to stop the spread of the virus, and he has the abilities, like the strength of a kabane. But yeah, it's really, I think it's a creative show, if that makes sense. Kind of a generic way of describing it, but it's creative in the sense of, I don't know if anyone's seen Kingdom on Netflix or knows of it.
No, but I've watched the preview because I was trying to figure out if it was a live action adaptation of the manga Kingdom, which is a real famous manga, but it's not.
Yeah, no, but I could see why you would think that. But I think it's the most relatable, or like setting wise. And in Kingdom, it's Korea. It's feudal Korea. And there's an outbreak of a virus, and the kingdoms in Korea are separated by fortresses as well. And it's kind of a loose plot line. I don't want to talk too much about that show, but it also reminds me of Train to Busan. Another Korean zombie movie.
Oh my god, I watched Parasite.
Series.
Ooh. It was so good.
Ooh, Parasite. What?
I didn't mean to interrupt, but oh my god.
Yeah, but also go watch Parasite after this is done.
It's on Hulu.
Yeah, for real. Lives up to the hype for sure. It was fucking amazing.
Great film. Yeah. But Kabanere's character design is Haruhiko Mikimoto. He did the Macross series.
That's cool.
Which is one of the reasons why I wanted to watch it in the first place. There's maybe one short OVA series, 3 episodes. It's on Netflix. And a film that came out, I believe, last year in Japan. But it's very accessible.
What is what's the character designs, or like the art style like?
How should I explain it? They're sort of old school, but not retro. There's a lot of elements of like watercolor, if that makes sense. Sort of this aesthetic of like, okay, so like the character will have a flush skin tone on their face, but it's always consistent. It's almost like they've dropped those textures in to the character designs, and then the hair.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty to look at.
Does it feel old? Not like old, like like not old as in like old animation style, but like old as in like old worldly.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, there's more like a steampunk element to it. And
kind of sounds like not the plot, but like it sounds like Children of the Whales. if you've seen that. They like parts of their bodies glow when they like use their magical ability, and it's like set on like an island that like nobody has left from, and they have to like defeat these things.
I would compare it to Last Exile.
Oh, cool. Now you've got my attention is piqued because I have a soft spot for The Last Exile. I thought that was a real good show.
So it's a combination of that aesthetic with samurai Japan era. Like there's tech, but it's not overdeveloped tech, industrial.
Mm-hmm. Sounds cool. I would watch that.
I almost could imagine this as a video game. I can see these characters fighting each other in like a 2D fighter. If I had to choose between Attack on Titan though and this show, I think I like Cabaneri more.
Wow, it's some big words. All right, what was your number 4, Amelia?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to fight Geoff.
No, we'll have opportunity for that later.
I forgot to say,
that's a whole nother topic.
I forgot to say for MMO Junkie, the one that it was most like that has like more episodes. I don't know if it's streaming, but like Welcome to the NHK.
Oh yeah, that's a big one for me. I'm a big fan of this show.
It's like not as like in depth with its themes or like characters, but it's like it's got that like I can't leave my house and I'm freaking the fuck out vibe. I like Welcome to the NHK more, but that's not streaming, so I didn't put it on my list. But anyway, okay, so my number 4 is Food Wars. You know, we're all sitting at home. We have all of this time on our hands. And you know what I have been doing? Fucking cooking. And I really wish I knew a lot more about cooking.
Yeah, Food Wars is actually a pretty big franchise. It's a show that is only marginally on my radar, but it is really popular. And I remember Michelle that used to go to shows. She would tell me about that show a lot and really hype it up to me. And she was a real big fan.
I really love it because it's like combines food plus boobs and, you know, like, and competition. It gets it all in there, you know, meshes all really nicely together. Plus there's like, that's probably the longest amount of episode show I have on one of my lists because there's like 75 episodes like right now out. Plus it's the 5th season's like currently airing. Unfortunately, like it's also delayed, but if you watch up until this point, up until the point that you can, I don't think there would be any issue like continuing it after quarantine or anything like that. So that's like why I kind of put it on my list. So Yukihiro Soma has always helped his dad with his restaurant. Running the family business was like the thing that they did. And his dad was pretty tough on him throughout that process because his dad, you know, wanted to make sure that people were getting, you know, really good food all the time. And through that, Soma found his passion for cooking and creating deliciously weird dishes. His father suddenly decides to close down the family restaurant to test Soma in his cooking ability and sends him to a super prestigious like culinary school where only like 10% of the student body who enters will actually graduate. And the school is known for its shokugeki or its food wars, where basically students face off in like high stakes like food cooking showdowns. So like you'll like barter something like your dorm spot, your spot in the dorms, and you would cook off against someone, and they would also like barter up something of equal value, and whoever lost had to give that up. And it showcases, the whole show showcases Soma's ability to learn and grow from his peers and like the people around him and navigate graduating an intense culinary program while like also maintaining his like own persona and like making a way for himself with his food in this world. So he's like he's basically like the the like reckless student. He like makes a lot of reckless decisions, but in the end, for the most part, they all pay off for him. And he then it like allows him to like open the minds of like other people that are around him and stuff like that. Is Food Wars.
So I was always under the impression that this show is like a shonen style type show where you're like constantly battling against the bad guy, then you train and you win in the end, and then there's another bad guy behind them. And but instead of being battles per se or like physical combat, it's cooking.
Yeah, through food. So like they will like, you'll see them like getting in an argument and duke it out through their food. And then whoever like wins, they like throughout their like time, like making the dish, you're seeing them like use like crazy ingredients and like crazy techniques. And they like go into super detailed descriptions of like how to make each food item that's like on the show. And it's really about the food, but then also like, you know, they're like half naked a lot of the time. There's a lot of like comedic, like body humor in it at the same time. So it's like kind of serious. The serious parts are really serious. And then the not serious parts are like really funny or like, yeah.
Right.
But it's basically like you battle it out, you train, you go through like your classes, something happens in the dorms, and then they have to battle it out again. And then you show off your skills. And then like, ultimately there are things like exams that you have to go through and field trips and stuff like that. But yeah. And then the one that is most like Food Wars, I feel like, is Kakegurui, which is like compulsive gambler. It has like a similar style of like breaking down the showdowns after school, you know, except for with gambling. So it's a super prestigious school and you're known for gambling if you go there. So after hours, you have to go into like gambling showdowns and test your skills.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember Yakutaka Japan?
No, not on my radar.
It was a show about cooking types, bread, basically, a baking show. And there was a competition throughout the series and like championships of who can bake the best bread. And
is this an anime or a live action show?
It's an anime. I think it was early 2000s. Oh, okay. But it's a very similar concept to Food Wars. And when I first heard about Food Wars and the exaggerated explosions of whatever, like, oh, this food is so good, and they have a full body orgasm. It's the same, a lot of the same concepts, but just with making bread. So definitely, it's like a precursor to this show. I don't know if it was influenced directly, but I'm sure there's a lot of cooking manga that are out in Japan, and they probably all have a similar.
You can watch that one, and you can learn how to bake your own bread for when there's no bread at the store. And then you can watch Food Wars and figure out how to make your meat really, really delicious.
Do they do baking?
Some people bake. They have like people that are like specifically like Italian cuisine like experts. You know, there's some people that are like specifically like smoked meat experts and stuff like that. So it's like kind of really cool to see who's an expert at what and like how much knowledge they have in that. Yeah. Pretty good.
Is the show grounded at all? Like it actually shows people cooking these delicious things in a realistic type way? Or is it? Yeah. Okay.
Like they'll go through, like while they're cooking, they'll, you'll see things like things will happen. They'll like make a mistake or, and have to like fix it in the moment, but they'll like, they kind of like explain everything like while it's happening. And then when they're presented the dish, they explain exactly how they made the dish.
So you could cook along with this show.
Yeah, that's like it's one of the shows that I've seen like people that and Dr. Stone recently, people have been making Senku Cola at home and like people make Food Wars dishes at home.
That's cool. I would do that.
Yeah, it's like really cool. Some of the stuff that they make is like outlandish, but
Yeah, I had a roommate who decided to do a recipe from Food Wars, and he spent the entire night doing it. It looked pretty good. But I think I hadn't watched the show at the time. I watched maybe 6 episodes during the summer, and have not finished it. But it's very addictive for sure. So I might go back now that we're talking about it. That's what I'm going to watch. Final Fantasy, Food Wars.
And it definitely gives me some ideas on how to make my food taste better.
Yeah. How do you feel about the nudity, though?
Oh, love it. But I'm a fan of nudity in general. So if it's an anime that's no nudity or nudity, I'm going to pick the nudity.
They do a good job of doing both for amount of nudity for men and for women. I've noticed.
That they are non-discriminatory. There's just as much butt as boobs, Mm-hmm. There's a character who specifically cooks with just an apron on or naked.
Cosplay ideas.
Yeah, I'm sure you probably have already seen them and not known it.
Yeah, why is that guy naked?
He has it's like a green apron with a little bear logo.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right.
All right, are we up to number 3? Number 3.
Number 3. So my number 3.
I like your list, Dan, because it's it's so much different than our lists. All of our lists are so different. Yours is definitely more serious anime, I feel and mine are a lot of lighthearted anime. But I just like that what we all came up with.
I think this all shows our respective sensibilities of anime too. Is this is what we're into. Mm-hmm. Okay. So my number 3 is a sports anime, and this could have gone any of 3 ways. I could have chosen Chihaya Furu, but I didn't. It hurts, but I didn't go for Hajime no Ippo. It hurts because that's a top 10 show for me, and I love it so much. It means a lot to me emotionally, but it is not conclusive. Really, the end, it kind of just keeps going on and on and on. So I decided that was not the best choice in comparison to Cross Game. Now, Cross Game is my number 3. As far as I can tell, it is a very obscure baseball anime because I have not seen anybody giving this much critical discussion or fan acclaim. But I think this might be the best, discounting Hajime no Ippo, because I think that's more than just a sports anime. I think Cross Game might be the best sports anime that I've ever seen. It is the story of kind of these the children of 2 families. One of them owns a batting cage. The other one owns a sporting goods store. So these 2 families are kind of intrinsically linked, by their professions and their love of baseball and whatnot. And, one has a son, one has 2 daughters. These kids are hanging out all the time. But one of there's a lot of twists, there's a lot of twists and turns early on. So it's hard to talk about the plot without giving away a lot of the early on emotional moments. Because the first episode is an hour long because it covers a big chunk of the manga, and then afterwards every subsequent episode is normal 20 minutes, 25, 30 minutes, whatever. The first episode is basically a short movie to get the rest of the show set up. So I don't want to give away what happens in that kind of opening short movie, but it tracks these kids through their high school lives and how they kind of approach the sport of baseball and love the sport of baseball and eventually succeed in the sport of baseball. And that in and of itself is a very, very good sports story. is a very realistic sports story. It's not one of these, the main character always wins. There's any particularly overpowered or overhyped type character. It's a very realistic portrayal of the drama and the resolve and the fortitude, the dedication of sports and of baseball. But what really puts it over the top is it's got a very good love story in there too. And the love story also has so much dramatic tension and romantic buildup. And the last episode is just beautiful. And the way the show weaves the love story and the sports story and brings them together so cohesively and so perfectly at the end is very, very compelling storytelling the whole way through. It's a really good watch. So yeah, and that's kind of the totally ideal ending was what really sold this for me above Hajime no Ippo or Chihaya Furu. And just everything about the climax of the show, from the music, the storyboarding, the directing, the writing, just everything about it is so immaculately perfect. I just went and rewatched the climatic couple of scenes, like 10 times in a row the first time I saw it, because I just couldn't believe just how beautiful it came together and how emotionally impactful it was for me. So yeah, that was my number 3 choice. If you're into sports, this is the one to watch when you're under quarantine.
I'm looking at the art style. It looks a lot like some of the older 70s shows.
Yeah.
Or like, what was Tsubasa, the football soccer show?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Captain Tsubasa.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an older manga, but
it is. Okay.
But I've never seen anybody give this show much hype.
I think it's highly underrated.
Highly underrated.
For sports.
Yeah, and I see people consistently go to bat for Slam Dunk as being the best sports anime. And I don't want to knock Slam Dunk because Slam Dunk's really great. But I think Cross Game really wipes the floor with it on every level.
Geoff gave it a thumbs down.
Slam Dunk did not end well though. It didn't that the strength that it started with, even if it was a little slow.
Well,
it just wasn't a great adaptation overall. They should redo it.
Well, do you know the story of how the ending of the anime came to be?
I've heard about. Remind me.
So, and I'm just going to go ahead and spoil the manga ending because that plays into why the anime ending is the way it is. You can't tell the story without knowing the manga ending. But yeah, the manga carries forward quite a bit longer than the anime. The anime ends more or less with them going to the Inter-High tournament. Right. And the manga shows everything that happens in the Inter-High tournament. And the manga ends, and the manga ending is absolutely breathtaking. It is so emotionally devastating. It is brilliant, and it deserves every amount of critical praise and hype that it gets. It is a crying shame that they did not animate this as the ending to the show. But in the manga, they play this really like life or death match against the reigning undefeated champions, who are expected, they're expected to just blow out our characters' team. And the characters just pull out all the stops and play just about the best game that any of them can, despite injury, despite the emotions, despite the pressure. They rise to the occasion. Hachimaki sacrifices himself. He plays through an injury that results in him basically never being able to play basketball again. But that's one of the emotional climaxes of the show is Hachimaki telling the coach, like, doesn't matter if I can't play after this game. I love basketball and I am willing to risk everything for basketball. And they play this kind of game and win. They beat the undefeated champs. And everyone says, wow, they clearly, like, we've got the new champs in the house now, they're going to win the whole tournament, and they line up for a big group shot and everyone's ecstatic. And then on the next page, they say, well, we were too tired after that game and lost the next game to a bunch of nobodies. And so they lose off screen, they lose the tournament off screen. And then you just go into the epilogue that's like, the center loses his basketball scholarship and basically gives up on basketball. Ryota becomes the captain of the team with a whole new generation. Hachimaki is in physical therapy. He basically can't play basketball again because of his injury. And Miyachi drops out of high school altogether to join the Japan national team. And it's so emotionally brutal the way they lose off screen, but it's real, right? Like that's real. And the realism of that is so acute and so powerful. But the animation studio was like, there's no fucking way that we can end the anime like this. We cannot have the main characters lose off screen. Like, we might as well just not even adapt this fucking arc, because that is absolutely unacceptable. Like, we're just gonna shoehorn in this, this pleasing ending where all the characters rejoin on the court and play together, because that's what the people want to see. They don't want to see all their heroes lose off screen. Like, that's bullshit. And the manga author was like, fuck you. I am never allowing another one of my manga to be animated again. I will never let one of my works receive an anime adaptation again because of what you did to Slam Dunk. And that's why Vagabond has never had an anime adaptation, despite its huge popularity and critical success.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I would argue that Slam Dunk could possibly be a runner-up for something like this, where you could watch. It's 100 episodes, I think.
Yep.
You could watch it over, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks if you really wanted to, but it's a lot of episodes.
Yeah, but Slam Dunk is it is great, but also spends a lot of time kind of treading water and a lot of time goofing around. Like, there's arguably a lot of wasted space in Slam Dunk. And on the one hand, I'm sensitive to the idea that that's not wasted space. This is supposed to be a fun and, happy-go-lucky kind of show. It's, and it's supposed to be a lighthearted story. I think the manga is not nearly as lighthearted as the anime adaptation, but I understand that's what the anime adaptation is going for, and that's totally valid. But that does cause it to come in lower for me than something like Cross Game or Chihaya Furu, that I feel like is more focused and more dramatically focused than Slam Dunk.
Okay. All right. So from Kabaneri comes another anime, same studio, Studio Wit. And can you guess what it would be?
Vinland Saga.
Bingo.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to say Attack on Titan.
No. I like Attack on Titan, don't get me wrong. But Vinland Saga, I think for where it ends right now, it'd be a good series to watch in a couple days, really. You could probably binge it a couple days if you wanted to. It's a series about Vikings, basically. And from what I understand, it's not historically accurate. It's just loosely based around stories of Vikings. And Thorfinn is the son of a Viking, one of the greatest warriors, but then his father is killed in a battle by the mercenary leader Askeladd. And Askeladd is a character who you might hate in the beginning of the series, but you might side with. It's another character, which actually, thinking about names, if I'm saying any of these names wrong, don't crucify me. But yeah, Thorfinn. Have you seen this show?
Yes, beach.
Yeah,
it's good.
I love it.
Yeah, just correct me.
I also
just correct me if I'm wrong.
I have an affinity toward like Viking stories, and I have a Viking cat, so I like Vikings a little bit. Yeah, Evie's actually her Norse name is Strong as an Ox.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, just in case you all wanted to know about my cat. She has 2 extra fingers, so that's cool too.
That's what makes her strong.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not a history buff or anything, but I think the show Vikings on, which I don't know what station that is, there's a whole series live action show.
My old roommate Adam was a big fan of this show Vikings.
What? Okay. And I had a friend who I suggested this show to them, and they had just finished Vikings, and they're like, nope, I can't do another Viking show.
Because Vikings are brutal.
Which is kind of surprising. I get. I don't know. He made it sound like it's basically the same show. And I don't know if that's true or not.
I will watch lots of the same type of show.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is the first anime to be set in this period, right? That I can think of.
Yes, I think so.
And well, the first show I could think of that came to mind watching this was Berserk. Even before you're watching the anime, it was the manga style and how gritty it was. So when it was announced that it would become a anime, I was like very, very excited. And I think they did a pretty good job of kind of adding that style, even though it's hard to animate that because there's a lot of details. They used a lot of 3D animation mixed with 2D animation, and I think it worked really well.
I think so too.
They utilized that.
I also thought that it looked really good.
The fight scenes I enjoyed.
I was pleased with how it all looked and felt, but I know the studio caught a lot of heat from the Japanese fan base over it not looking good enough. And the studio was like tweeting out apologies periodically, being like, please stop, complaining and we apologize. This is really the best that we could do. And, like, it's very difficult to replicate these very detailed and complex manga panels. But people, and I kind of feel like that has more to do with a ravenous, dedicated fan base than it does with shortcomings of the show. Because I in looking at the manga panel compared to the anime version, like, yeah, I understand that the manga is really so detailed and so skillfully crafted and drawn. But also it's really not possible to replicate that with animation, nor should it be. Like, animation is not meant or intended to have the same level of standalone detail as a static drawing.
Exactly.
You're supposed to convey things through motion and through use of music and sound that you couldn't convey with a drawing. That's the strength of anime. So I am, and in that way, I thought Vinland Saga looked fucking great. Oh
yeah, absolutely. And then, I didn't hear any uproar about Land of Lustros. And that's a 3D animated, show. And the manga is highly detailed. It's very illustrative looking. It's like highly, highly detailed. Yeah. And it just is different. It's just a different medium. Like you said, they both have their strengths. You can't compare one over the other and say, solely based on the fact that it's not a clone of the manga. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Agree.
But I think this story is very compelling. I like the hero's journey in this show, and it ends on a cliffhanger in the last season, and I think this is a show that you can you can show to your friends, anyone who is not necessarily an otaku or a fanboy, fangirl. It doesn't matter. It has relatability.
I agree. And I've also sat down with almost every single one of my friends that is remotely interested in anime and been like, yo, you got to watch at least the first episode of this. Even the first episode alone is such an emotionally compelling and thematically strong singular episode that stands on its own 2 feet quite well. Amazing show. It's criminal, it also highlights how criminal it is what the world has done to Berserk. When it's like Vinland Saga has a rock solid good anime adaptation, and it's like the best damn thing you ever saw. So you have to imagine that if they just made a good, straightforward adaptation of Berserk, it would also be the best damn thing you ever did see,
Yeah. Give it to Studio Wit. They can take
for
care
real.
of it.
Yeah, for real.
We can start a petition.
Well,
yeah.
that's how people fantasize like, oh, what would I do if I win the lottery? I would buy a mansion. I would buy a boat. In my mind, I'm like, I would pay a nice studio to make a good adaptation of the entire Berserk franchise.
Money well spent.
Gallant. So my number 3 pick is Revisions, because I keep talking about it all the time because I want everyone to watch it. It's a Netflix original. So it's on Netflix. It is 3D animated, the whole thing, all of it. And it's about this kid, Daisuke, and his childhood friends. They were involved in an abduction, when he was in elementary school. So when they were little, one of their friends got kidnapped and he had to go and save them. And since then he can't stop talking about this prophecy of 5 people will meet huge adversaries in which you will be the only one that will be able to protect them. That is his prophecy. He keeps he is obsessed with this prophecy all through growing up. So the beginning part of the series starts when they were kids and this crazy thing that happened to these childhood friends. And then it fast forwards to high school where they're still kind of friends, but he's gone into this crazy obsessive mode with this prophecy. He's training all the time. He hides weapons places, and he's just being kind of a nuisance. Because he's sticking his nose into things that kind of get him into more trouble than if he were just to stay away, because, he has this huge protect gene on his friends, and he keeps getting into more trouble. And it kind of pushes his friends away from him. They're like, oh, he just can't stop with that, can he? And one day the prophecy actually comes true, and him and the entire town or city of Shibuya are transported 300 years into the future, just a small chunk, just Shibuya. And the phenomenon later on is known as the Shibuya Drift, where the 300 year in the future Shibuya is an apocalyptic wasteland. There's mechanical monsters that they have to fight and defeat. And they actually pilot smaller robotic suits called string puppets. And they need to figure out how to get back to present day Shibuya while defending themselves in this crazy world and save as many people as possible. So it's the cool thing about this is it's similar to not exactly similar to the situation that we're in, but we're in kind of a lockdown mode. We're in this different time and place kind of in the world. And this is a cool parallel, I guess. But the government has a bunch of debates within the anime about what they're going to do with this new world and what laws they should introduce and what if there should be a curfew, who's allowed to go and fight in the string puppets to defeat the monsters that are attacking. And yeah, super apocalyptic. Got to get back. And at the end, you find out the prophecy that happened so much time ago, so long ago, that is like pretty relevant with what's happening in 300 years in the future.
Speaking of Code Geass, I'm looking at the credits for the director, and he worked on the manga, TV show, all the movies, the OVA. He basically created the Code Geass.
Really? I didn't know that. So yeah, Revisions is on my list of things to watch, and I watched the first episode with Afia and Justin and thought it was rock solid. So
I really enjoyed it. I mean, like, I feel like the animation is good. I don't have any complaints about it. And I think the reason that is because there is no adaptation that it's based around, you know.
Right.
There's nothing to compare it to.
Having it be from the mind of the Code Geass guy is a strong endorsement, in my opinion, because I really have a lot of respect for Code Geass and think that show is so great. And yeah, part of what I always thought was so great about it was just the balls to the wall, train careening off the rails manner of storytelling and execution, and just the way that, you know, things happen, like all these preposterous things happen at every turn, that it just keeps it so engaging. And it's so like, but I say that, and I am drawing a parallel to another major franchise where preposterous things happened all the time, which was Game of Thrones, right? And the problem with Game of Thrones preposterousness was that show was not actually preposterous at any point until it was. And that made the preposterous moments feel so out of place and so, just disgusting. I mean, I hated it. Code Geass is the exact opposite. It is preposterous from basically the first 5 to 10 minutes. Nothing about this show is at all realistic, and it revels in what is the most intensely or bizarrely intense twist that we can throw in at this moment, because we're going to do it, you know. And like, what is the most, kind of the Gundam sense of, you know, everything for the drama. So is Revisions like that at all?
I can't say. I haven't seen it. Code Geass.
Oh, word. I was going to say, you really haven't seen Revisions?
No, yeah, I've seen Revisions. I haven't seen Code Geass, so I can't compare it.
Word. But does Revisions feel like it is also kind of sacrificing everything for this absurd level of drama and intensity?
It is,
or is
like
it grounded?
It's through Daisuke's like point of view. So like he feels like he's sacrificing everything because that's what he was meant to do. Like he was born to do this because this person told him way back in his past that's what he was born to do. So he's like, I'm ready to sacrifice it. Like, I'm ready to, you know, defeat these things. I'm ready to give all I can for my friends and keep everybody safe. But he knows that going in. It's not like he's just like, oh, I have to make this decision in the moment during this like terrible situation. And I'm not sure if I can handle it. He's already like all in.
So it's a story about destiny.
Mm-hmm. And it all comes like full circle.
Did you see any of Rasafan, Amelia?
Rasafan.
Yeah, it came out after Evangelion. Is it anything like Evangelion?
This kid actually wants to get in his fucking robot. He's like, let me in this robot, and everyone's like, no, like this other kid is like the best pilot for this specific robot.
So the robots are they like bio?
Yes. Let me hear. They're kind of like they're not scaly. They're like kind of like
they're like bioweapons.
Yeah.
Razefon is a cool show.
Yeah, because I like a good mech show.
They're kind of like bug-like. And they have like these like weird face like masks in the front. So like wherever the head is like this weird like small little mask with like these two black stripes. And then the rest of the body is like animalistic, like spider, scorpion situation.
Mm. I see.
The string puppets that they pilot are more like actual mechs. Or like everyone's idea of a mech. Yeah, it's only 12. Not a big commitment. And then any other survival anime you could watch after.
But there's a season 2 of Revisions coming out.
Is there? I asked Netflix for this freaking show for like 6 months and they wouldn't put it out.
Word.
All right. What's the next?
All right. My number 2 has been touched on multiple times throughout this long conversation. And I will introduce it with an anecdote. I went to go see the compilation film, one of the compilation films that came out for it, because it had the first episode of the new season tacked on. And this was, months before the new season was going to come out. And the kid sitting next to me was talking with all of his friends, and I kind of overheard their conversation. And he was saying that there are only 2 franchises that he pays attention to. There's only 2 shows that he thinks are worth his time and his commitment, that he really cares about and feels emotionally invested in. That is Game of Thrones, which now ain't nobody care about that because the ending was so bad, and Attack on Titan. And that is my number 2 choice, is Studio Wit's Attack on Titan. And part of the reason that I chose it is because it is so immensely popular. And if you watch it now, if you haven't seen it yet, this is a good opportunity to watch it now so you're all caught up with this giant, pop culture event that is going on, this sizable cultural force that has taken hold of anime and broken out of anime. I mean, people in my life that do not otherwise know or care about anime are watching Attack on Titan and talking about Attack on Titan. And with its final season coming up right around the corner, it's supposed to be coming out next year. This is the time to get all caught up so you're ready for when the final season comes and everybody's paying attention to that. I would explain the story, but I kind of feel like everybody's already seen Attack on Titan and already knows what it's about. Or if you haven't yet, then you should get on watching that. And I don't need to explain it to you because you should just start watching it, But part of the other reasons why I thought this show was so good in that, for this, is that it is very high energy and it's very action packed. It is immediately, like, right off the bat, first couple minutes, crazy shit's happening. It does not let up from its kind of relentless pacing for a good amount of time. And it is also a show with so many intricate plot twists, so much kind of world crafting and intrigue and mystery to sink your teeth into. It's a show that really lends itself to fan theories and to discussion, as you're watching this about, who is the betrayer and what's in the basement and, why is this, why are the walls made of these things and blah, blah, blah. And unlike many shows that build a lot of promise, Attack on Titan delivers in spades. It does have reasonable answers to all of these questions. It does have really well-crafted moments where everything is revealed to you, everything is explained to you. They don't come across as info dumps. They come across as these giant dramatic reveals and these nuggets of information that allow everything else to click into place. So they don't really need to explain everything to you. You know, they give you just enough that you can figure it out on your own just by paying attention to the show. So I think this is a really great show to watch when you're stuck inside and you got the time. And it's a show that keeps getting better, you know, and people, as much as people complain about the pacing, and I think there's been a lot of critique of this show for its kind of straightforward and blunt character writing, and it's kind of awkward storytelling. But really, I think of it as a show that is so focused on creating these moments, and the rest of the show is basically trying to guide you from moment to moment, and it's really these moments that are what is impactful and what is what hits you so hard. You know, like who could ever forget the Reiner and Bertold reveal on top of the wall? Like, that shit blew my fucking mind, and is a scene that I keep going back to over and over and over again. Or who could ever forget the ending of season 2 when Eren Yeager throws a kind of, a frustrated punch in the sky because he doesn't know what else to do, and it winds up accidentally controlling, being what needs to happen. And there's so many amazing dramatic moments that I'm willing to forgive the kind of clunky way that we get from moment to moment, because those moments are so perfect.
And it's not a show about a hero per se, right? It's not, this is your main character hero and he's going to save the day.
Yeah,
necessarily. And it doesn't fit that necessarily Shonen Jump archetype.
It doesn't overall. I think the show does a lot of growing. I think in that context, I think this is the manga writer's first big thing, right? Like, he's a relatively new manga writer, and I think you can literally see him growing as the show goes on, because when it starts, it is a little bit more of the generic, like, we got our big boisterous loudmouth main character who more or less saves the day with his, silent but secretly strong sidekick and his weak but actually very smart sidekick. And it comes across as being a little bit more generic in its style. But by the time you get into season 2, like, all that stuff really goes out the window. And by the time you get into season 3, we've really moved beyond any sense of, the hero as the main, the hero on his journey as main character, and into this very intricately woven sense of political intrigue and kind of world crafting mystery. And it becomes a significantly more narratively complex and emotionally complex show as we go on. All the characters start out, and that was kind of one of the initial critiques of this show from my perspective, from what I gathered, was that people didn't like how kind of one-dimensional and blunt all of the characters were. But by the time you get to the later seasons, these characters are significantly more nuanced and more emotionally complex and interesting, just from the experiences that they undergo changing them, and the author being able to successfully display how these things have changed their character and their worldviews, and how it's impacted their personalities.
And now that it's been out for a while, I think I would want to go back and rewatch each season back to back, which is why we're talking about this, right?
Yeah.
Because originally when it came out, it was what, two-year gap between the first and second season? It was long.
I thought there was a pretty big gap between the second and third season.
Was second and third?
Yeah, I think it was like they kind of rushed out because the second season's only 12 episodes in comparison to first and third season being 24 episodes. So I think there was a sense that they wanted to strike while the iron was hot, given that this was kind of an unexpected breakout hit. And they wanted to hurry up with the second season and get it out there, even if it meant a smaller, shorter season. And then they, had to take more time to get the third season together.
Mm-hmm. I remember that because I tried to watch the third season, and I did not remember a lot of the stuff. So
yeah, but now
there's a lot of nuanced plot points that happen in the second season that, like, if you don't go back and rewatch it, like, you're missing everything.
Yeah, but yeah, I think now is the time to get into it because third season is done. There's only one more season left. Fourth season is the final season. The story is coming to a close. So I have to imagine, in my mind, I feel like there will be many people in this world watching this like Game of Thrones style, where they're like, everyone is crowded around the TV on a weekly basis to watch the latest episode and talk about it. So now is the time to get caught up and get ready for that.
Talk on Titan.
That's what we should have named our podcast. Otaku.
I think it exists. There was a segment in Rooster Teeth? They had a podcast. They still have a podcast, but they had a Crunchyroll live, review section or whatever you want to call it, video, and they had a section. Yeah, it was just called Talk on Titan, and every week they would talk about it and spoil things for you. Yeah. Do you remember that when I started watching that show on Crunchyroll? It was right after, I guess, Otakon 2016 or 17, and it was only a season long. And they just stopped doing it.
It sounds like Crunchyroll.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, there was five people talking all at once, and they were laughing the whole time. It's kind of, I like the energy that it had.
Yeah. When Attack on Titan first came out, I was definitely skeptical of it, only because so many people not otherwise into anime were telling me how great it was, which made me feel like it's probably not that great, But yeah, when I actually sat down and watched it, I remember the key moment that was the turning point for me was Mikasa's big epic speech on the roof of the building to all the other survivors. And she was like, everybody just, sit there and, suck on your thumbs and, I'm going to go save us all because I'm fucking badass. And then she, leaps into the fray, and then then that like fucking killer heavy rock song comes on, and everybody else is like, fuck it, let's just jump into the fray too and see what happens. We got nothing to lose because we, either we die doing that or we die doing nothing at all. Everybody rallies and then they're all back to fighting. And it was that moment of fighting spirit, that like big, and that's what I mean. These like, that was one of the moments, and Attack on Titan is really about these moments. And it was like Mikasa's big epic speech was one of the moments. And yeah, that is in my opinion the first big moment, and that was what really sold me on it. After that, I was like, well, fuck yeah, man. Fucking, I feel your fighting spirit, bro. Like, let's survive. I want to survive. Yeah.
And the music's great too. All the opening and closing.
Yes.
Pictures.
Yeah. Great.
Some of the best music.
Yeah. Great score throughout the entire series. Whether it's the really heavy rock songs that come at these kind of opportune moments. When Aaron drops the boulder and then there's that like giant heavy guitar riff that comes in and the ballad. And it's like really great stuff. Yeah.
Everyone else have anything else to say?
No, you can do your number two.
Attack on.
I mean, I bought an Attack on Titan hoodie once.
Hell yeah.
I think that's the most times I've ever gotten talked to about anime in public is whenever I wore that hoodie.
With the crest, the shield.
Oh, shit.
Yes, I do remember seeing
everyone would give me the hand signal.
True.
You know. Everyone.
It's a breakout hit, man. That show is fucking huge.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. What's your number 2, Geoff?
Going back to my younger days as a youth. So yeah, when Blockbuster was around.
Oh shit! You taking it way back.
Yes and no. So when this series is older, the manga series is older, and there was an adaptation in the 90s, 94 to be exact. When I would go to Blockbuster and rent random shows, there was a show on the shelf with a martial art guy, and I like martial arts, so it made sense. I picked it up, and it was Baki the Grappler. Now this was a OVA series originally, and is now on Netflix. And they both cover different parts of the manga. The original OVA series covers the tournament arc, and the Netflix series takes place right after that. All right, so I dropped the ball on this one. In 2001, Baki the Grappler had a TV series that I did not watch, but was aware of. It was licensed by Funimation and was on DVD. Those are very hard to come by. So in order to watch this show, I believe you have to watch it via download. And maybe in a later date, I will sit down and watch it and review it. Back to the show, folks. So I wish they would adapt the tournament arc, because I think that's where you learn about Baki. Like, you learn how he learned to fight, why he's fighting. Whereas in the Netflix series, you kind of just throw it in, and you don't particularly know Baki. Like, that these people have broken out of prison, and there's like these extreme martial artists who are notorious, but you don't know why they're being released. I think it's a good introduction, but for those who haven't seen it, I think watching maybe the OVA first might be a good introduction as well. And basically the whole show is just fighting. It's an anime about fighting. That's the breakdown for you. The plot, there's not really a plot per se. It doesn't matter who wins necessarily or like why they're fighting. It just matters that they're kicking the shit out of each other, and it's badass.
Yeah, Baki is some legendary shit, and it's high on my list of things to watch real soon.
The story, or rather the pacing of the show and the fight sequences, my only problem with it is the low end budget that it's animated with. Now, the characters are 3D, which is fine. It's just that they don't stay on model. A lot of the characters, like, they'll throw in every once in a while a 2D character that's not 3D, and it just doesn't match. And you're like, why something they must have handed it off to another studio or some contractor, someone working from home. They're like, oh, we'll pay you, pennies on the dollar, and then just fucking animate this shit, get it done. And they really like dropped the ball on that, I think. Second season came out much better. It's much more consistent animation wise, and you can just really get into the show. And I can't wait for the third season to come out. And Deering Gray has a opening.
Oh yeah, nice. Pretty big.
Yeah. So get on that right now.
Yeah, I've never seen Baki the Grappler, but this franchise has always been on my radar for, as you say, being like one of the all-time classic examples of pure anime ultra-violence and being kind of one of the better franchises for that style. So I'm keen to watch it. The Netflix Baki the Grappler was on Anime's Craziest Deaths when we saw that panel at Otakon too.
That's right. Yeah, so each martial artist has a different fighting style, and they can kill you in numerous ways. And like one guy is able to pull out your tendons, or like rip out parts of your
Watch this with Steven and he might like it.
I think Steven would love this show.
I think he would hate the animation style.
Probably. Yes.
But
he does not like your animation.
Ultraviolence is his genre.
Yeah, I think if you're into any type of martial arts, fighting, if you like old Bruce Lee movies, kung fu movies, this is like the show for you. And it's relatively easy to get into. You don't need to you can have it on the background if you want. You don't need to invest time into learning the characters' backstories. It's a really easy show. And I remember last week we talked about Kagen. What was the show we were watching?
Kagen Ashura.
Ashura, yeah. And I'm curious to hear your opinion to compare the two.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Baki's got legacy, it's a stone cold classic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I say back in my day, in my youth, I'm not that old, by the way, people. I'm 32. What, 32? I don't remember how old I am. Yeah. But imagine watching this kind of show when you're 11 or 12 and you're seeing people get murdered. It's like watching Akira, right? Or stuff like that kind of sticks with you. And this show kind of glorifies it in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Whether it's necessary.
It's a little bit of don't try this at home. Don't try to tear out your little brother's tendons.
One character uses actual weapons to kill you. And he's cheap. He'll pull out a grenade or something and shove it down your throat.
So there is a kind of ultra-violence samurai show called Shigurui, Death Frenzy. It's a short samurai show, adaptation of a manga, or at least adaptation of the first story arc of the manga. And it's very brutal in its depiction of violence and gore. People getting their guts, getting their stomachs sliced open and their guts go flying out everywhere. And, people losing limbs and blood splatter and the meat is hanging off them and shit. It's a grisly show. And one thing that a review mentioned that always stuck with me, which I think is true with Shigurui, and I have to imagine that it's true with Baki the Grappler too, is that, when they described Shigurui, they said, this show has a very keen appreciation for the human body. And you really have to care a lot about human anatomy and about kind of the physics and about the mechanics of combat in order to accurately convey and display this kind of stuff and to get this stuff looking good. And I always imagined, and based on the clips that we saw at Anime's Craziest Deaths panel, I suspect it's true with Baki the Grappler too, that you really, the people making this show clearly care a lot about the human anatomy. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to have it look good when somebody's tearing out somebody else's tendons, and playing the fiddle on their nerves and shit.
Yeah, the mangaka was very much into that. It was into anatomy, but also into distorting it a lot and really playing around with embellishing on things that you normally wouldn't, certain muscle structures. And it doesn't a lot of things you could see happening in reality, but he takes it to that next that next level. And you go, man, yeah, like what if this is possible? You know, like what if you died that way? It's cringeworthy for sure. There's even a Mike Tyson character in the show. So
that's cool, I think. I don't think it, and you know, as I think about the things that I do and don't like about this kind of ultra violent anime and you know, whether or not this stuff is tasteful, like I would say Shigarui and Baki the Grappler are very tasteful, and that's kind of what makes these shows good, is as we discussed, like their love for the human body and their the way these things are stylized and their appreciation for what they're doing. I mean, you can tell their commitment to what it is they're doing, and I think that's different than something like Indie Geist, where it's like a very cheap rendition of ultra violence.
Go watch it right now.
Okay, I'll pull it up.
Beach, go watch it.
That'd be interesting. We can do a segment of us watching a show, and we can just comment on it while it's playing.
Yeah, but you gotta. I agree, but we gotta find the right show. We can't just watch a good show.
Yeah.
All right, what was your number 2, Amelia?
Well, how am I going to follow up ultra violence, you know?
With more ultra
with
sex?
I wish that was.
Ultra sex? With your girl?
I'll follow it up with some comedy, okay? We all know I love trash and isekai. So, my second pick is Konosuba. It is 22 episodes long. Plus, there's a movie on Crunchyroll. You know, to get your.
This is kind of a currently popular franchise, right?
Yeah, I actually I didn't watch it when it was airing because it was so popular. I kind of was like, meh. You can't be as good as everyone says. There's just too much hype. You know what I mean? Like, but it actually is pretty good. So Kazuma, the main character, dies a pretty like pathetic death on his way back from picking up a brand new video game he was on his way to get. And he is met with this super like annoying god named Aqua. And throughout their whole conversation, she's like laughing at him. She like cannot control her hysteria towards how he died. Because he basically tried to save this girl from a tractor, but she wasn't actually in danger at all. He just perceived the situation wrong and died for it. So she's like laughing at him the whole time. And because she's a god, she can grant him either he can go to heaven or he can be reincarnated in this fantasy world. But there's one condition to that, and that he can only take one item with him. And to spite Aqua, because she's been making fun of him this whole time, he takes her. And because she also is annoying and deemed this like useless god that people are trying to just pawn off onto other people, they allow it to happen. So they're like, oh yeah, sure. Like, we're the higher power. You get to go hang out with Kazuma in this like new world. Go help him out. It'll be worthwhile for you because maybe you'll like gain some insight or something. Maybe you'll be a better god after. Because Aqua is totally useless, she doesn't help him out in any situation that he's thrown into. So it's a little bit different than like a game world, whereas like most isekais are set up like it's a video game world. You know, you have powers, you have to level up, whatever. But these two are thrust into the very beginning, like of like, I want to say birth, but like if you were just coming out of college, like don't have any money, need a place to stay, like this is where they're at. They have no money. They have to like work to sleep on the ground that they are given. And they have to like fight for their living expenses and stuff like that. But they also, the condition of this world is they have to beat the demon king who has like taken control of the world. And it's kind of set up like a video game, except for Kazuma like thinks that things are going to happen like a video game, but they don't. he has like, he doesn't like level up, but he needs to like, he thinks of video game mechanics, but the video game mechanics like aren't working for him in this situation. So it's just about them navigating this world and like trying to build, their party. Basically, they're building a party. They're trying to get more powerful and defeat this like demon king.
Is the story resolved in this series? Is it done?
It is not done. It's continuing. It's continuing. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if there's like a plan for a third season. But the movie like gives you a little taste of more of the franchise. And it's basically comedy. So it's all really funny. This is like a series that like, I don't normally like laugh out loud, but I laughed out loud. Like, it's so funny. Like, Aqua is literally the worst. And later on, they meet like this like gallant knight who is a big busted woman, and a little witch, Megumin, who has a cat as her familiar, and she does explosion magic, except for she's really terrible at it. You know, like everybody is like doing their thing, but they're also like really terrible at the thing that they do.
Hijinks ensues.
Yes, lots of hijinks
based on that.
Aqua's like this deity or this god that is grounded in this world. So like there's like the god of the Church of Aqua or like whatever, and they like are very persistent when they are trying to get people to give money to the Church of Aqua. And she goes around like always making water for people.
She turned water into wine.
Yeah.
Did she ever do that?
No, she just makes water appear.
Didn't Mr. YouTube anime guy Giguk make a video about this series?
I think he references it a lot.
Or maybe it was the Mother's Basement guy, but I know I watched a video about this show along the way.
Oh yeah, it's really funny. I like it.
Hell yeah.
What are we on now? 2? So
Number 1.
Number 1? Oh my gosh.
Last pick.
The last.
Sorry, I'm getting distracted of pictures of Megumin. Yeah, well, I was trying to look up to see if there was going to be a third season. Megumin's like my favorite character in Konosuba.
Okay.
She is the explosion magic girl.
Yeah, I don't mean to like cut you
short.
No,
I was just yeah, there's definitely they think that people are speculating that the season 3 is going to come either this year or next year.
Is there a film?
Yes. Legend of the Crimson something.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's funny. It's just it's kind of like the two heroes, My Hero Academia movie. It's just like a little bit of taste of different part of the franchise. It's a lot less story driven.
Could somebody start here and to see if they
you could watch the movie, but I don't think you would get the humor. Okay. I think the humor comes from like the first couple episodes when they're like trying to figure out the lay of the land and like how that world works. Because like you are also learning along with them, like what kinds of magic happen, like what, how that world works. Yeah, you learn along with them. So it would be, you could watch it, but you probably might not get as much of the humor in it. Because the movie is also more about Megumin and trying to like hone her explosion magic, because her explosion magic is really weak in the beginning of the series, and over time she can control it a slight bit more.
Give it a look into it. I'll watch an episode or 2.
The first 2, I think that's all it takes, because the first episode is the setup and the second episode is them going around the new town that they've been reincarnated in.
Right.
And from there, you will be hooked. I'm just kidding. You might not. I was.
I better be. I'm one of those.
And it's on Crunchyroll. And it's kind of like ReZero, except for ReZero is like a more serious take on that kind of story where like the main character dies a crazy way and he has to relive everything every time he dies in that world, in the new world. So like ReZero and Konosuba are like one and the same, but I feel like Konosuba is a lighter-hearted version.
Yeah. It's interesting because ReZero is on my list of things to watch. And
I love ReZero.
It's on my radar. Yeah.
I think that I actually wanted to rewatch it because I know. Well, I was assuming that before this all happened, the second season was coming out, so I wanted to rewatch it.
Right.
And
okay.
The first episode is long, so it's like 45 minutes or something. And it's a little repetitive, but I feel like it's repetitive in a way that allows you to understand the breadth of like what he's going to have to deal with coming up into the next into this world that he's reincarnated in, because every time he dies, he has to start all the way over. So it's like a little repetitive because it keeps dying.
Right.
And it keeps
that would be extremely frustrating.
Yeah, and you as a viewer are frustrated too, and you can like feel his frustration with that. And then the second episode gets you into the actual rest of the plot. So power through that first episode because that is worth it.
Okay.
All right, number one.
Moving on to number one. You already know what my number one is. Legend of the Galactic Heroes. The only television show that matters. I cannot give a higher recommendation. I urge anyone with 2 functioning eyes and 2 functioning ears to watch this show. Or if you just had one of each, that's still good enough, you know. Fuck, man. So Legend of the Galactic Heroes is the epic story of it's hard to push it down into just a couple of sentences, but it is the epic story of 2 young genius military generals, Reinhard and Yang, on opposing sides of a galactic kind of continuous warfare between 2 large states, the Empire and the Free Planets Alliance. Now, the Free Planets Alliance were separatists from the Empire. They didn't like the authoritarian, kind of vaguely fascist rule of the Empire, so they strung off into deep space to found their own country, and in the end they created kind of an equally sized intergalactic, or not intergalactic, but like many planets type country, nation, Free Planets Alliance, and they are just locked in this 500 plus years ongoing continuous warfare with the Empire as they try to liberate the citizens of the Empire from the fascist rule, and the Empire tries to redominate the rebel citizens of the Alliance. Now, the Reinhard is a up-and-coming kind of from the lower strungs of nobility, yet through his merits and through some familial connections, he is vaulting ahead in social standing. He's a military genius, and he is ready to lead the Empire to victory, but he also feels that the Empire has got it all wrong. He sees the corruption of the Empire and the way the nobles have oppressed the common man for too long. And Reinhard is very much a man of the people. He's a champion of the people, and he wants to gain control so that he can reform the empire to be less slanted towards the nobles and more slanted towards the people. He wants to be a benevolent dictator. His counterpart is Yang from the Free Planets Alliance. Yang, also a military genius. He is quickly gaining ranks and making, big leaps ahead in career and in social standing on the merits of his, amazing military victories. But Yang also sees the corruption of the Democratic Free Planets Alliance. He also sees how those in power are, even if they're democratically elected, they are all corrupt and they only care about themselves and they don't care about anything beyond maintaining their power and winning the next re-election, and how they can utilize the system to their own ends and to their own benefits at the expense of the common person. And Yang also is very much, he's a champion of the people and he speaks truth to power. And we see these two guys and their assorted friend groups and entourages and the people that, the complex web of people that support them and people that hate them and actively work against them. And they go through this very long-winded and epic story spanning 110 episodes and bajillions of characters, and they have this very intricate and nuanced both political and military kind of swing and sway of the war and the political situation and rebellions and power and also philosophy. There's a lot of discussion about what it means to have a benevolent dictatorship in the face of a corrupt democracy. And the show is so thoroughly thematically deep and engaging. I cannot get enough of it. I spent like a long time getting through the entire franchise, which is like 170 episodes and 2 movies. And I cannot stop thinking about this thing on a daily basis. It is so fucking good. There's so much to say about it. It is a show that starts strong. It never lets up. It is beautifully constructed. You could watch it. I feel like anybody that likes to think critically about television could watch this and feel like this is so interesting. There's so much to say about it. You could talk about it with all your friends and family. Anybody who's willing to watch it. There's so much to be said about all the characters, about the themes. It is incredibly deep in a way that is rare, not just in anime, but I think in media in general. And I think it is, just one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, I can say that I've watched part of this show, and
it put you to sleep.
Yeah, it put me to sleep a lot, and it wasn't always the best time to watch it. I would come home, and try to watch it after work, and like you were saying, there's so many characters. There's a lot of names that you don't have to necessarily remember, but they will come back later on in the story, and you're like, okay, you reference this character. And if you are not fully, focused on the show, you have to go back. You have to backtrack, basically. And I'm totally fine with that. And actually, when I started watching this show, I think I don't know if I recommended it to you.
Yes, you were the one that recommended it to me. You were like, "Oh, I'm watching this show, Legends of the Galactic Heroes. It seems really cool." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll start watching it." And before I knew it, I was like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life."
And you had passed me.
I was gonna say, Dan probably passed you instantly.
Yeah, I had gotten maybe like 10 or 15 episodes in, and then I was like, "Yeah, all right, I'm still into this." And then Dan was like, "Yeah, I'm like 40 episodes in." It's like, God damn it, Dan.
He has great anime watching skills.
Yeah, well, I think it definitely takes a certain intellect to watch this show. And it's not for everyone. If you like I think hard sci-fi anime, hard sci-fi fiction, and this is based off of a science fiction novel. A bunch of the series.
Other reviewers have related it to Babylon 5, which I grew up watching with my parents, and I am a huge diehard fan of, over Star Trek even. Ooh. And the Foundation trilogy, which were some of the earlier books that I read when I was like in middle school or elementary school. I was a really big fan of those too. So it was like, man, this is right up my alley. This is the kind of stuff that I'm into. Just to say, it's a lot of people sitting in a room talking to each other, and the background music makes it seem way more dramatic than their actual volume of their discussion, you know?
Absolutely. It's worth it. The payoff, though, I have to say, is worth it. Like, if you can get through some of those episodes where they're just talking and there's, I think we're gonna attack this planet or this ship, and the whole episode is dedicated to like one strategic move.
Yeah.
If you can get past that strategic episode, it pays off, an episode later or so.
Well, and I'll also say that I think this show has arguably the best ending in anime. Like the last episode especially ties up every plot point in a way that is satisfying and conclusive, gives everybody a specific ending that is satisfying and conclusive. And yeah, the final scene also references the first episode in a way that really drives home the theme of, this is history, and history repeats itself, and human existence is a ongoing cycle, and that, we are forever interlocked in this, wheel of time and wheel of, of life that we can't break out of, that we never break out of.
No, it's there's two versions of this show, right? There's the 80s series, and they just redid it. They just adapted it.
I forgot that existed, to be honest.
Well,
when I was making this list,
mixed things.
I forgot about that. Don't watch that one. Watch the original. It's all up on YouTube, so anybody can watch it. Yeah. Don't even bother with the new one until you've seen the original and feel like you're such a huge mega fan of the original that you just want to watch everything relating to this story and these characters, which is why I watched the new one.
But for those who don't like the old anime style, that may seem a little outdated,
timeless,
and maybe yes, all right, okay, choose my words correctly. The new one might fit, might make it a little easier for some people to digest initially.
Yeah, I strongly disparage the new one, and I'll tell you why. I think the new one is very much focused on these two main characters, Yang and Reinhard, and I think it loses not only its plot complexity, it like loses a lot of content, because in the original they really flesh out this huge amassment of characters, and they do a lot of even like one-shot stories of like, just the grunt soldiers, the average no-name soldier, or the farmer that gets caught up in this military conflict, or this random politician that gets stuck in a hard place because of the war. And the original has this fully immersive world that is built up, and the new one doesn't have any of that, because it is solely focused on these two characters and how all the side characters relate to these two characters. So I think it loses a lot there. And I think because of that, it loses so much thematic depth. You know, like the new version does a good job of conveying the main storyline, but you know, where is the question about, you know, corrupt democracy versus benevolent dictatorship, or where is the discussion of, you know, what it means to have pride and what it means to be friends. You know, like the original has so many deep questions that it just dives headfirst into. I mean, you'll have a 20-minute episode of two characters sitting around debating the merits of a benevolent dictatorship. The new one would never do something like that.
Did you watch the show, Amelia?
I did not. Was it,
could you?
Could I? No.
Yes.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm not politically based at all. Like I can't relate to anything like that.
It's hard to accept like that reality of wanting to have your cake and eat it at the same time. Like you want to have an anime series that takes you out of reality, right? And you want something that's entertaining and like kind of just disappear for a while. But the show does a little bit of both. It's like you can see all of these things happening and you're like, man, this is totally real. This could happen in reality, even though it's science fiction and, you know, they're flying around in spaceships. It kind of,
yeah, but
do you want to watch CNN or like C-SPAN?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were discussing this, Geoff, when it was the episode where Jessica Edwards leads the anti-war protest, and then they get into a scuffle with the police that turns into like the police massacring all these civilians, which leads to more anti-war protests, and the government is like clamps down with this like emergency act to enforce their own lockdown and send the National Guard and the military out to oppress the people for the sake of keeping the peace and keeping order. And yeah, you and I were like, damn, dude, like, didn't we literally just live through that a few years ago in Baltimore? And like, it really is a very accurate and poignant portrayal of the modern world that we live in and politics in general.
So if you want that in your anime, then this show is for you. Absolutely. But if you want escapism like to full extent, then maybe Baki is for you, or
Konosuba.
Konosuba. Yeah.
Yeah, and
like the comedy. It's not comedy at all.
As we discussed that, my list, with the exception of Attack on Titan, is all, in my opinion, very realistic shows and very grounded shows. And yeah, that was kind of my sense that like if you're stuck in lockdown and you wanted to watch something with a bunch of your random friends or family, then you would want to watch something that is not so far-fetched that people would immediately dismiss it, you know. And I feel like Legend, you know, even if it's a sci-fi show, I mean, all these shows, or I guess not all of them, but like Legends of the Galactic Heroes could be told in a live-action version and be equally great. You know, Nana has a live-action adaptation that is totally reasonable and respectable. And good.
Oh, it is so good, but the second one isn't, but I love both of them.
Yeah. And yeah, Monster almost had a live action adaptation, which would have been fucking great, I imagine. You know, and I think people are very quick to dismiss anything being animated as being like, oh, it's too childish, or oh, it's, you know, like this is just like some dumb bullshit. It's so unrealistic, you know, and it's too, you know, this or that. And that's really just people's preconceptions because they think that anime is cartoons rather than just being its own form of media, period. And I think each of these shows is a strong contender against that mindset that like there ain't nothing far-fetched or
out of control about these particular shows. You know, they are very real and very grounded. They're very emotionally real and philosophically real. And yeah, I think that's part of what makes them so great.
All right. And my number one is a show that Amelia has introduced me to a couple, I guess a year ago now. And that is Demon Slayer.
Hell yeah, B. Oh my God.
I still got to watch it.
I can sing the whole song. Okay, hold on.
I watched a YouTube video of some guy playing that song on piano in a live setting, like you know, the subway station of New York. He's just playing it live, and at the end of the song, there's 30 people gathered around him.
So good.
Anyway,
the song is so good.
Yeah, this show is ranks pretty high on my list in general. If I had to do a list from last year, the show would be up there. It made me feel something that I hadn't felt for a while, watching anime from back in just when I was growing up, and that sort of, this is something in the genre of anime that is unparalleled or like unrivaled. I don't know. It just sort of fits the zeitgeist of like the shonen anime. And the so basically the series is about a boy, Tanjiro. His family is murdered by demons, and his sister Nezuko survives along with him. And his sister is also bitten by one of the demons. I don't know if he's bitten. Is she bitten or scratched?
Well, she's attacked. They don't say if she's
attacked.
like bitten or scratched, but there's just a lot of blood everywhere.
Right. Okay. And so she becomes part demon and is able to more or less control her demonic side. So she can kind of go revert back to human and then demon. And I don't know enough about the story in general, if that changes later on. I haven't gone past the actual anime.
It is, they do treat it as an anomaly. Like that's not something that happens.
And that's sort of similar to Cabaneri. The main character is attacked and
bitten by that zombie.
Has the abilities of both. And like he's still conscious, but can use those powers. So in the beginning of the series, after this happens, they run into the Demon Slayer Corps, and they're organization that is dedicated to killing the demons in the series and to protect the human race. And the main character Tanjiro meets another Demon Slayer Corps samurai, or I guess we can call him a samurai. And it leads him on his journey to learn to be a demon slayer, and become a demon slayer. What would you call him? Like there's different levels and tiers.
Yeah, I guess it's just like any kind of martial arts. You get the higher your skill, the higher the level you are in the like corporation or whatever in the group, and then you have more powers. You take on like higher ranking like demons and stuff like that. It's kind of like ninja, like in Naruto. Like the more powerful you are, not actually, but
yeah. So along the way, he meets a couple characters. Inosuke is one. He's got a warthog face, which is a mask essentially. I still don't understand how he fights with that thing on his face. There's Zenitsu. He's loud and annoying. And each of these characters has different elements they can use in their fighting ability, like water and electricity. And so basically, it's this journey to set off to cure his sister's demon side and to bring her back to being human again. And that's basically the gist of the story. It won some festival awards last year, like Best Anime Film, Tokyo Anime Film Festival. And there's a movie coming out in October that's supposed to continue the series.
Oh, bitch, we seeing that.
I'm
seeing
looking forward to that.
We seeing that.
But with that said, besides the story, the artwork and the animation, some of the best I've seen in a long time. For whatever reason, every shot in this series, every shot in this anime just feels like a painting, or it could be screen capped and used. You could hang that shit up on your wall and framed. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean because I have one wall scroll.
Oh yeah, there's no inconsistencies that I can find.
And my background is actually the Heart Hashira.
Is it?
Yeah. I love her. Anyway, I'm talking about like anime series that make you want to rewatch episodes for their thematic, like, goodness. Episode 19 of Demon Slayer, I rewatched like 3 and 4 times. Like it takes a turning point and really just plunges you right into the feels.
And that's the thing. It's all about feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the music that goes along with it.
He overcomes so many obstacles throughout his entire journey of trying to find a cure for Nezuko that, like, you don't expect a character to be able to do, and he doesn't do it well. He fails a lot, but it's that failing that makes him better, that makes you like him more, like makes you want to root for him more. And those small instances where he like triumphs in either battle or like in figuring out the next step, like really make you fall in love with the series. Like that's like what the series is about, is like him overcoming obstacles that you didn't think he could.
Yeah, he's a very likable character, wouldn't you say?
Oh, so likable. My God, poor baby. I just want to like cuddle him to death. I want to cuddle him till I murder him. He's so cute. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And Steven calls this the bondage anime.
Because of the piece, the mouthpiece
in the box that she's put in.
Yeah. I've heard people say that too. Like, what are you watching? Like, why does that girl have a bondage thing in her mouth? I have to
advocate for the anime like on a daily basis if I talk about it. But it's so good.
She has it for a reason though. Mm-hmm. It's not just arbitrary.
Yeah, well, and it's set in historical Japan. They don't say exactly what times, but the atmosphere is so like, it's like a different time zone. It takes you to a completely different place that's like, that I don't know because I don't live in Japan. I haven't, like, I feel like if you have that like historical root in Japan, like you would probably think of it more as like a history kind of thing. But the sci-fi element is like what really brings the series together, because it's mixing both worlds at the same time. There's like demons and like monsters, and you have to slay these like crazy beasts out in the forest. But there's also like a like homely or like very like warm feeling that you get when you're not in battle, because of the setting that it's in, because of like the time period that it's set in.
Definitely I would say more fantasy.
Oh, is it fantasy?
Element.
So when I think fantasy, I feel like I think like knights and swords and horses. So I don't say fantasy. What are demons?
Well,
still fantasy.
Well, I'm thinking of but I'm thinking of the element based part of the water.
Oh, okay.
Like the fact that they can use water. I don't know. Like, I guess just that part of it.
The only thing I didn't like about Demon Slayer is Nezuko turning tiny. Everyone, I feel like, loves tiny Nezuko, but I do not like tiny Nezuko. Like, she's already cute on her own. She doesn't need to be any smaller. It was really cute when it happened. I was like, oh my God, that's so cute. But then like now there's like figures of her and tiny form and like people are like, I don't know. I just don't like it.
Well, the whole point is that she can fit in this box, right? And her brother carries her around. Her sister falls asleep. Basically, she has to recharge. So they enable to carry her around this world. She's carried in a box, and she's heavy, right? So let's make her smaller. Did she just randomly become smaller?
Well, it's like part of her demon power.
Okay.
So like she can grow, she can get really, really big, and then also extremely small. It feels like vampirism a little bit because she can't be out during the day. And the thing about the sleeping is normally demons need to eat humans, but because Nezuko is part demon and part human, she sleeps to recharge. So sometimes she's asleep for like a year at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I watched this in about 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, oh my God, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's
highly recommend
definitely
it.
bingeable. Like you could.
It's very bingeable.
When you start watching it, you don't want to stop watching it. Like I watched it as it was airing and it was extremely hard. I was thinking about Demon Slayer the entire time. I was like, oh my God, when's the next episode? I need it. I need it.
I think it's also airing on Cartoon Network, I believe.
Whoa.
Which I think is why it's blown up the way it has.
Yeah. Because
it's got a bigger audience.
When I was watching it when it was airing, I saw maybe one cosplay at the convention I went to. I forget. I think it was Anime Expo, I think. And then an Anime Expo is a pretty big convention. So I assumed a lot of people would be cosplaying Demon Slayer. And then there wasn't too many, maybe 2. And then at Otakon, I saw 10 people. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like everyone's cool. Look at all these Demon Slayer fans. I love Demon Slayer too. And then I went to Anime NYC and there were full blown cosplay groups cosplaying every single character. Yeah. And now you can't go. It's like the My Hero of cosplay groups. Like everyone cosplays it now, which is fun. Like I'm not like, oh my God, step cosplaying it. But it was crazy to see the amount of people and just how a short amount of time took a liking and then got a cosplay for it.
Yeah, so we got to do a cosplay.
Hell yeah.
I got to watch the show first.
Dan can be Nezuko.
Yeah, I'm ready to get in the box. You're gonna carry me around on your back, right, Amelia?
Well, you gotta shrink 3 or 4 times smaller.
Gotta get your demon powers.
Yeah, get me to Chibi Dan.
Chibi Dan.
Oh.
All right.
Okay. Okay, my turn. My number 1. I saved. I feel like the best for last. At least of my list, I saved the best for last. Okay, so my number 1 pick is Noragami. It's kind of similar to Demon Slayer, actually.
I've never even heard of this one.
It's 25 episodes, and I'm not sure if it is continuing or not. I don't know. But you can watch it on Hulu and Funimation. Those are the 2 that they're streaming on. And it's about Yato, a minor god, a minor deity, and he is a self-proclaimed delivery god who will do whatever you need for a 5 yen coin. So basically, if you have a 5 yen coin and you wish for something to happen, like people are picking on you, or you need your windows done, whatever it is, he'll do it. And he dreams of having millions of worshipers one day, despite not having a shrine. And basically being homeless right now. Because of his uselessness, his weapon partner, which is called a regalia, deserts him, and Yato finds himself wandering around like a stray cat, but also looking for a stray cat named Milord. Yato almost gets hit by a bus trying to save this cat to get his 5 yen coin, and is pushed out of the way by a girl passing by named Hiyori. And Hiyori, after they've fallen, and she's scolding him for being careless and almost dying. But when she looks back, her friends are screaming for her as she lays on the ground in front of this bus. So she's having like an out of body experience. She's talking to Yato on the sidewalk as if she's not dead. And then her body is like laying in the middle of the street and her friends are screaming. But she awakens in the hospital. But because of that instance, now she loses her body sometimes. Like she'll just wander, her soul will wander off and her body will be like left there laying. And Hiyori and Yato's worlds start to intertwine more and more. Because of that situation, she wants Yato to figure out a way to put her body and her soul back together, because right now they're like conflicting. And she pays him a pretty large advance to do this, but he doesn't make any promises. And because of that, she keeps helping him do the tasks that he's like called upon to do, which another task is to find a new regalia for him, because basically a god without a regalia in this world is unarmed and could be killed at any moment or taken away. And so he needs a regalia. So Hiyori tries to help him find one, and then also tries to help them like mesh, because the regalia that he does find is also downtrodden like he is, and he's got to figure out a way for them to mesh, because he can't be without a regalia anymore. And then the story continues to be this various, like, people are calling on him to do stuff, and the obstacles that they have to overcome keep becoming bigger and bigger.
Interesting.
Yeah. So all the regalias have like a specific thing that they personify. Like the one that left him is like a knife that he stabs into these like, it's these like monsters that are like, they're just like creations of like evil thoughts. They're not like stemmed in reality. There's like a sieve, and each like god has their own regalia. And most of the gods that you meet in this that Yato knows, they all have a shrine, and he like crashes at their shrine because he's like this like dumb god that like can't do better for himself.
It's a studio bonus.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And have you guys seen Beyond the Boundary? No, it's kind of similar to that one. This girl is from like a famous clan that wields blood as weapons, and she's got to like defeat monsters, but also go to school.
Oh, okay. Somehow that name sounds really familiar to me, but maybe I don't know it.
Yeah, Kyokai no Kanada is the Beyond the Boundary.
I'd watch it. So the show that we're talking about is up on Hulu right now.
Yep, you can watch all of it. 2 seasons.
So what's the draw in this one? Like what pulled you in?
Well, Yato's like this like goofy dude who you over time like kind of feel for because of like the past. He has like this he always like has a situation that happens to him that he doesn't take very well. And he overcomes it, and then you like him a little bit more because you're like, oh, you know, you're not just like some like goofy dude who doesn't know what to do with his life. You know, you have like a reason for why you've been scorned, and you know, and then you meet a lot of it's quirky, but also there's a lot of like battle scenes. It's kind of like not as serious as Tokyo Ghoul, but there's like, you know, things like there's like similar elements to Tokyo Ghoul.
It's going on my anime list.
He's like the man, like Yato's like the comic relief in the show.
How are the have you watched the OAV?
I have not. I've only seen the series.
Other directional things. Person's done. Director. Cool.
Anything of note?
Yeah, he's done storyboards for 91 Days. He's worked on Bakano. Eureka 7.
Personal favorite.
Eureka 7 would be a bingeable show.
Yeah.
I had thought about that. Space Dandy. And Sword Art Online.
Oh, I thought you meant like Space Dandy would be like a bingeable show.
Oh, no.
I was like, no, that shouldn't go on any list.
I still need to watch Space Dandy.
I am not a fan.
All right. Long conversation today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did it.
Can you imagine doing 10, your best 10?
No. I mean, I could. I have my top 10 decade list like right here in front of me.
We could do it. I think we would have to just be more focused on like a small description and then maybe like spend 5 minutes on each, 10 minutes on each. That's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how different everyone's lists are.
Yeah, I agree. It is very interesting, and I do think it speaks. Like, I feel like looking at these lists, you could kind of figure us out individually. You know, like what were our respective tastes and interests.
Yeah, I'm very escapist when it comes to anime. Like, I want to be put into a different world. And I was thinking, like, for quarantine, like, I could have just named all the isekais, but I wanted to, like, have animes that are, like, the worlds are kind of completely different. Because what I'm lacking now in quarantine is, like, a variety. I'm doing the same thing every single day. And if I use anime to escape, I need all of my animes to be a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. I feel you.
I definitely think I'm going to check out Kabaneri, though.
I would watch that.
That sounds definitely like something I would like.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, do we want to all watch Kabaneri and talk about that next episode, or do we all want to hate watch the new Ghost in the Shell and talk about that?
Ooh.
That's tough because I think I kind of want to do both.
Okay, I'm going to pick one, Jeffrey.
Yeah, we could. I mean, we could do both over 2 episodes, but should really just choose one.
And the Ghost in the Shell seems topical. I think I want to hate on something really badly. So
okay, so we'll all watch.
And I'm not even going to say that it's bad. I'm not going to say it's bad because I haven't watched it.
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of.
I haven't finished it,
but there's equally as much to discuss if it's secretly really great. You know, so
that's true. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can burst everyone's bubble and like prove everyone wrong. Maybe this is the greatest Gets
maybe
series
it's the best one
that ever existed.
We're gonna see.
Thanks for sticking it out. I know it's been a long journey through our binge-worthy anime list. I really hope you find something that captures your attention and makes things a little bit more bearable during these times of adversity. If you like or hated something we recommended, please let us know by visiting us at www.otakuhostclub.com and email us at otakuhostpodcast@gmail.com. Be well out there and stay safe.